And thanks to Miss April for pointing that out to us. There you go, Stream. You're welcome. And I'm sorry. At every Greenville Swamp Rabbit game, at every Greenville Drive game, at every Greenville Triumph game, and last year at the Greenville Drive, not this year, unfortunately, mainly because the majority of the games are weekday games, and Robbie B's got to be up very early in the morning. So unfortunately, being at the park until after 10 o'clock at night just is not an option. But at Furman basketball games, at Wofford game, wherever I can get, I like to go be a part of it. I like to go be out there and in front of a crowd. It's kind of what I do. I have been offered on no less than 3 separate occasions, including by 2 of the teams here in Greenville, the opportunity to take a microphone, to go out to midfield or center ice or whatever else, and perform a national anthem. Rob Brown, would you like to perform the national anthem this year? And the answer I give every time is, I am flattered. I appreciate the offer. Abso-freaking-lutely not. I do not. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I have no, I don't want to do that. And it's because what I don't want to become is
for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
She could not get out of Brave fast enough. Stop it. No, Ingrid. So here's my thing. I don't want to Macho Man verbal elbow drop anybody for having the rocks to grab a mic and go out there in front of, I'm assuming probably about, 70,000, 60,000 people in that building last night and perform. What I am going to say is somebody else should have stopped her if she wasn't willing to stop herself. Because there's no way that she went out there, this young lady, there's no way that she went out there, did the warm-up, right? Like the, not audition, what's the word? Rehearsal. There's no way she went out there, grabbed a mic, did the rehearsal, and nailed it. There's no way she nailed the rehearsal, like Grammy performance, a rehearsal, and then turned around and it's showtime. That's what she turned in. That ain't it, man. That ain't it. That was, oof. Let me put it this way. I went last night and we were trying to figure out what was Roseanne Barr still, was Fergie the worst national anthem performance? Was it Roseanne? Was it Fergie? Was it who else is on that list? Carl Lewis. We still talk about the Carl Lewis one. Fergie had one of the worst of all time. Here's what I do know. What I do know is that there's a lot going on in America right now. Okay? There's a lot going on in America right now. And one of the reasons that I like doing sports talk radio is because even when we all fight about sports, NIL's bad. No, it's good. Transfer portal's bad. No, it's good. Even when we all fight about sports, at the end of the day, I know that if you are here and you are listening to this show and you're listening to Wire to Wire with Cole and Diesel and you're listening to Bill Ryder and Jim Rome and BetMGM tonight and Amy and all of our lineup here, I know that even though we might have like opposing viewpoints on sports, you're here because you love sports, right? Like we can disagree on what we like and dislike in sports. Very animated this morning. I don't know why. We can agree and disagree with what we like in sports, but we are here because we love sports. And that's why I love sports radio. I have told you guys this in the past. You may think I'm an idiot. You may think I'm a moron. You may think I'm a jackass. But if you ever see me in public, I beseech you, come over, say hi, shake my hand. I promise you'll like me. I'm a real nice guy. I'm a real nice guy. I just love sports. And even if we disagree on sports, I think Brandon can attest to this too. You meet me in public, I'm a pretty nice guy. All right? In fact, you catch me at the right time, I'll buy you a beer. I'm a good guy. Sports, in a point in time where we have what happened this past weekend at a Donald Trump rally, where we've got people threatening each other with violence based on who their preferred presidential candidate is, et cetera, et cetera. All collective mounds of bull. While all that's happening, we all have sports to unite around, right? Because I'm going to tell you straight up, in, what is it now, 40 days? When college football lights up. By the way, Team USA plays their first Olympic basketball game in 12 days. Let's go. At a point in time where we've got all these things going on, once a game tips off, we're kind of on the same page. I actually want to thank Ingrid Andress, the 32-year-old country singer-songwriter, who has, by the way, earned 4 Grammy nominations. I want to thank her, Brandon, and I want to thank her because last night, at the conclusion of that national anthem,
Land of the free and the home of the brave.
at the conclusion of that national anthem last night, America was the most united it's been since like 1776. All right? Everyone was dropping hammers on that performance last night. I got on Twitter because I'm a masochist. I got on Twitter last night when I heard that. I'm like, oh, this poor girl is about to get destroyed. And I popped on Twitter, and I'm going to tell you the straight up truth. There were 2 things happening on Twitter last night. About 15% of Twitter was tweeting about the college football video game, EA Sports College Football 2025. And about 75% of Twitter was just dunking on this lady. And there was about a 4% audience out there that was like, leave Ingrid alone, right? Leave this poor girl alone. She's probably got nerves. That makes sense. I've been in, I have emceed in front of, I don't know, 70, 80 Swamp Rabbit games at this point. And I'm going to be straight up with you. When it's almost puck drop time, and my producer, a lovely young lady named Alexis, she's a doll. When she gets in my ear and she goes,
Rob Brown, 15 seconds still hype. 15 seconds still hype. Rob Brown, 10 seconds to hype. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rob Brown, hype. Rob Brown, hype.
And it's my time. I'd be lying to tell you there's not still some, all this time, still some nerves, all right? But that's excitement. That's fun. There's when I walk out on the ice to do the hype, and I look up and there's 3, 4, 5, 6,000 people in this stadium, and when they say
go for hype,
the spotlight on me, I'm the only one with a mic, lights on me, and yeah, there are still nerves, but there is a reason that when the Rabbits have asked me 3 or 4 times, hey, man, you're out there already. Would you like to sing the national anthem? No, I would rather quit than sing the national anthem because I am not going to put people through that. I'm not going to do that to people, all right? I don't know how to describe the gut reaction other than Ingrid Andress is a spectacular American because last night, for the first time since 2016, 2012, 2008. Last night was the most united I've ever seen this country. Just everybody went LeBron double tomahawk onto Ingrid Andress. I'm sure she's a sweet girl. I'm sure she's very nice. I hope that this gives her whatever she needs to like rehab this image and like fix it. Because I did go listen to some of her other stuff. It's not for me. All right. It's pretty basic white girl country music. Which, hey, if that's your bag, that's your bag. Right? Have at it. My fiance loves it. Cool. Have at it. Not my thing. It's not bad. Now, I will say at this point, I'm pretty sure that I'm definitely sure that I'm comfortable saying she is proof that just all big label music is just manufactured auto-tuned crap now, right? Because there's no way that woman who did that, there's no way that woman was putting out some of the like remarkable music I heard under her name last night. But I hope she figures it out and gets it together. Because we do owe her a debt of gratitude after last night when she managed to, in about 145 seconds, bring the entire country together. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, neocons, fascist, communist, Marxist, anarchist. Everybody last night was like, oof, that was bad. I do not need to, Rob, you wouldn't go out there and do it. I don't need to be able to cook a 5-star steak to tell you when one is burnt. Okay? I don't. Last thing I'm going to say about it, and then we got to go to a break. Hey, you know what? Just listen one more time. You know what? At least she went for it, right? She didn't back off. There was a point halfway through that where she was like, I should quit. There was a point 45 seconds into that national anthem where she went, yeah, it's going real bad. You can't walk it off though, right? Can't walk it off. If I have a bad segment, I can look at Brandon and go, let's go to break. Roll the music. We got to go to break. I got to reset. I got to fix myself, right? I got to go to the bathroom. I got to powder my nose. I got to get my life together. You can't get a buck into the natty and look and go, all right. Free. Scott Stapp does the anthem. Let's take a break. This poor girl. Honestly, like I hope she's got somebody very supportive in her corner today. All right. And I hope that about the time she got to brave, that somebody went into her purse, found her cell phone, and deleted every social media app off of it immediately. Because the whole country was dunking on her last night. Oh, that was rough. Hey, Home Run Derby was good, though. Let's talk about that and a whole lot of other sports when we come back on the Rob Brown Show with the Fan Upstate. All right, guys. Fun fact. The battery fell out of my headphones during the break, so I have to go find it. I will be right back. Please do not go anywhere. Give me 30 seconds. All right, here's some stream exclusive content. I got up this morning, and when I get up, obviously, until I get out of the bedroom and I can close the door over, I can't turn lights on because it's 3:40 in the morning. I'm a good fiance. So I leave the bedroom and I close the door behind me before I turn on the house lights on while I get ready. Well, I got out of bed, and my dog, who I love dearly, my dog has a chew bone. My dog's 22 pounds. She's barely a dog. But I have a bone. She has a chew bone. It's about this big, right? It's almost as big as she is. And we gave it to her. Like, that's when we leave the house, that's all she does. She goes to town on this bone. Well, she chewed one side of it to where, and it's round, right? And it's got stuff in the middle of it. So she's chewed around the edge to where it's just sharp. And I kicked the bleep out of it. I went into the bro cave. I was getting dressed. I had to go shirts and polo because when as soon as I'm done here, I'm leaving to go down to Clemson because they're doing their open house media day today. So I go in the bro cave. I got to like put on real shoes today and all that. And I go to put on my sock. And as I go to put my sock on, I realize like my foot is wet, which doesn't make sense because I showered last night. All right. My foot's wet. I'm like, what the hell? And I pick my hand up. My hand is covered in blood. I have busted. This thing cut my toe. It pulled my toenail up and back. Pull my toenail up and back. And then the jagged part cut a slice out of my toe from on top, like around the toenail, all the way around bottom to the underneath of my toe. So it is sliced open. And it hurt. My foot is throbbing right now. Like I had to put it under the hot water. Then I had to put the rubbing alcohol on it, which God dog that hurt. Yep. And then wrap it in like 3 bandages because it was bleeding. And it's to the point now that before I go to Clemson, I'm gonna have to go and change it because like I can feel the bandage. Like, yeah, it's bad. It freaking hurts, dude. So that's how my day started. Pretty spectacular. Well, they took our Twitter away. Elon made it to where if you're going to stream on Twitter, you have to have a premium account now. And so they took we're working on it. We're discussing if we want to take the Fan Upstate page premium so we can stream to it again. But yeah, like our viewership, and hi streamers, our streaming viewership took an absolute tank yesterday. So if you're enjoying the show, please share it to your friends. We got to grow it. I got to get my numbers back. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back. We're not gonna spend all morning on this national anthem from last night, but if you can look me in the face and tell me that you didn't either chuckle or lean back in your chair like WTF, dude. Oh, that was woof. Was not ideal. Not ideal. So congratulations to Ingrid Andress for joining the Roseanne Barr, Carl Lewis, Fergie Club last night. All right. Let's get some other stuff going on. I would like to, let's start on this. We spent some time yesterday talking about the Big 12 Clemson, Florida State situation. We spent some time yesterday talking about, could it possibly happen? Why would it happen? Well, we had on yesterday a pair of Clemson reporters. We had on John Blau from the Post and Courier. We had on Michael Hood yesterday, who is a reporter for TigerNet. And I asked both of them, is this happening? Because the report from college football radio host Greg Swain, the report was that Clemson and Florida State, as well as at least up to four other ACC teams, were engaged in conversations with the Big 12. And I asked both of them, is that true? Is there any smoke to that? Is there any smoke to that? And both of them said, no, there's no smoke to that at all. That's not a thing. John Blau said, yep, heard those reports, nothing to it. And Michael Hood said, yep, heard those reports, nothing to it. And I thought about, I spent more time than I am proud of last night, really just kind of trying to think my way through that story. Is it possible? Why is it possible? Is it impossible? I really kicked this thing around a lot. And I kind of landed on a couple of different spots. One of the things I landed on was, is it possible? Yeah, but I can't think it's probable right now. And I can't think it's probable because both of the two primary schools, Clemson and Florida State, are both currently wrapped up in not one, but two different lawsuits with the Atlantic Coast Conference, right? Both of them have a lawsuit working right now in their hometown. Both of them also have a lawsuit working right now in Mecklenburg, in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I'm not an attorney, mainly because I don't have the discipline, patience, or intelligence to be one. I'm kind of a big dumb, which is why I get paid to talk about football. Barely. But what I do know is that if you are wrapped up in multi-million dollar lawsuits, the last thing that you want to do is to open yourself up to more multi-million dollar lawsuits. And right now, both of those schools are in multi-million dollar lawsuits. Having a conversation with the Big 12, I don't know that they're, and again, both of these schools have on retainer an army of lawyers whose job is to know the answers to this. And I will tell you that I also spent some time yesterday trying to track down, hunt down, and get on the air a labor attorney who maybe knows the ins and outs of this, but there's not many of them. So I would like to know if, and if so, how, a discussion with the Big 12 would indeed create an issue that could potentially make the lawsuits between the ACC and Clemson, the ACC and Florida State worse, right? Is there some sort of breach of contract because they are still under the contract with the ACC? Is there some sort of clause that prevents them from doing that? Is there some sort of legal no inside the contract that prevents them from doing it? The answer is right now, I don't know. And we can't know. We can't know because the media rights agreement is basically right now kept under lock and key. One of the big discussions in this lawsuit so far is that the ACC, when these lawsuits fired up in Leon County, Florida, and Pickens County, South Carolina, when these lawsuits fired up, those two schools said, "Yo, can we get a copy of that?" And the ACC said, "Yeah, come on up to Charlotte. Yeah, if you'd like to look through the grant of rights agreements," which, by the way, I don't have an answer to this. I would assume both of those schools have a copy on hand, right? But apparently not. Coming up to Charlotte, you can come take a look at it. You can't leave with it, but you can come take a look at it. You can make notes. You can look through the archives. Well, one of the big victories down in Tallahassee was that Florida State was allowed to have, and then Clemson was allowed to have, a redacted copy that made its way into the media of the grant of rights to work off of. Like a little take-home worksheet, like homework. So they did that. And John Blau had a piece up that I thought was honestly very, very interesting. John Blau has a piece up that says that Clemson is going to be hanging on a primary argument right now. And that primary argument is...
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is. Yeah.
Oh, Bill Clinton. Depends on what the meaning of the word is. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. Basically, what John Blau says Clemson is going to lean on, basically the argument John Blau says Clemson is going to go with is that all of the language that the ACC has right now, remember, the ACC, the big strong point that they have is their claim that even if Florida State and Clemson were indeed able to find a way out of the Atlantic Coast Conference, the ACC would still own their media rights, which means right now leaving is basically a non-starter. Even if you found a way out, even if the Big 12 came to you tomorrow and said, we'll give you twice what the ACC is paying you right now, and we'll pay all the exit fees for you. Even if that was the case, it still wouldn't make sense for these schools to leave yet, because they've got to get a court to say, yeah, if they pay all of the legal fees and they get out, they also own their broadcast rights. And according to John Blau, and we'll ask him about it, about this again next Monday when we get him on at 8:40. According to John Blau, Clemson is going to make the argument that in this lawsuit, and I know this stuff is boring and we just want to talk about football, and I promise we will, because SEC Media Days are happening in the Big D, and I do mean Dallas, and I got a lot of sound from Shane Beamer yesterday. And we will play more of it as the week goes on. ACC Media Days next week in Charlotte. I'll be there for that. As this thing presses on, Clemson, according to John Blau, is going to lean on the fact that all of the verbiage in the ACC's grant of rights agreement signed by Clemson, signed by Florida State. All of the verbiage is in current tense. It's all in current tense, meaning when they signed it, the argument they are making is the ACC owns the media rights to each ACC member. And Clemson's going to argue, yeah, but if we leave the ACC, we're not an ACC member. And if we're not an ACC member, by their own legalese in this contract, they won't own our media rights anymore. Whereas the ACC is saying, no. We will. We maintain the media rights even if you bail. That's the agreement. So the argument is about verbiage.
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is. Yeah.
That's the argument. And it is wild to me that as we are now like, what are we, 40 days? Right around 40 days till college football. How many days until August? What's the first day of college football? 23rd, 24th, 23rd?
August 23rd.
38 days. We're a month and a week away from college football. And the biggest discussion going on right now is about what the definition of the word is.
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is. Yeah.
That's the biggest thing going in college football right now. It's so wild. Anyway, this is not going anywhere, just so we're all clear. This is not going anywhere. This is going to be something that's going to hang around for a hot minute. Because as I've mentioned, you were talking about tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars shifting between one entity and the next. I am real committed to following this story. And I frankly, I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know where it's going to go. Here's what we do know. John Blau of the Post and Courier, who is locked in on everything happening around Clemson and conference expansion or conference departure or whatever you want to call it. John said right now he has no reason to believe that Clemson is having any discussions with the Big 12. Michael Hood, who writes for TigerNet, Heisman Trophy voter, he's got connections. He said right now he's got no reason to believe that Clemson or Florida State is having conversations with the Big 12. And I went through and I looked at about 15 different articles last night, 15 different editorials last night from different outlets about, reports are Florida State and Clemson, along with multiple other ACC schools, are having conversations with the Big 12. And every one of them cycles back to Greg Swaim. Every one of those articles listed Greg Swaim as the source. So I'm like, I feel like it's just one guy. Just one guy said that. To the point that I almost want to say something ludicrous as a definite statement on the air and just see if we can get it to go viral, right? Maybe we play that game one day. Maybe one day I say, hey, listen, audience, tomorrow on the show, I'm going to say something ridiculous that's patently false, and I'm going to say it as if it is a fact, and let's see if we can get on to, let's see if we can get on the front page of every sports outlet like Greg Swaim is doing right now. Again, I'm not calling Greg Swaim a liar. I'm not saying he made this up. I'm not even saying it's false. What I'm saying is, we had yesterday two of the most connected Clemson beat reporters that you can find right now. I am saying that yesterday we had a pair of guys who are very much in the mix. And I am saying that both of those guys said, yeah, there's no reason to believe this is true. And I am saying, while I am not saying it about Greg Swaim, I am saying, welcome to my industry where people, and this is true, lie for attention. They lie. They say false things that they know to be false on the radio in order to get attention. And nobody's been getting more attention in the college football sphere than Greg Swain. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. Rob Lonzo and you. 844-326-3663. Sorry, Rob, Brandon and you. Brandon in for the great Lonzo today on vacation. Renewal by Anderson to the Carolinas fan phone. 844-326-3663. Text line 71307. Start your text with fan. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, pardon me for 45 seconds. Be right back. Skynet is good in RoboUmps. Beautiful. Thank you. Tyler. You know, I'm racking through. I've got, off the top of my head, I know 2 Tylers, and both of them are absolutely people I would not put that past.
Looking forward to the day I meet somebody whose name is Fokker. They're like, come on, Gaylord and Fokker. 10 seconds.
The Rob Brown Show continues. It's the fan upstate. Rob, Lonzo, no, Brandon. It's old habits. Old habits die hard, man. You know, it's just, we'll get there.
I'm going to give you a technical foul for that, sir. I got to go shoot my 2 free throws now.
I earn plenty of them a day. I'm like, it's not good. What do you want? All right. It's a habit. Old habits die real hard. So we are talking about this Clemson, Florida State rumored conversations ongoing with the Big 12. As I've said, do I think it's possible? Yes. Do I think it makes sense? Yes, to be honest. If for no other reason then, as I said yesterday on the show, price is set by supply and demand. All right. Now, yes, I understand there are a billion other variables that go into that conversation, but price is set at its core by supply and by demand. And I think it is important, if you are the holder of the product in question. And in this case, that of course is Clemson, Florida State, and if they decide to join North Carolina, Miami, etc. The good service and or product in question is your brand. It is the FSU brand, the Clemson brand, the Miami brand. The brand is the product here. And so if you are in control of the product in question, you want to make it appear as if your product is as in demand as possible. That's kind of the game. I want the Big Ten, the SEC, whoever else, I want them to believe that they are fighting over me. I want them to believe that they are fighting over me. I want them to believe, honestly, that the Big 12 is willing to come off a bunch of big money. I want the Big 12 to believe that even with the conversation about the AAU accreditation, that the Big 10 wants me. I want the Big 10 to believe the SEC wants me so that I can have them basically give me the best possible deal. And while they're not going to get any more money from the conferences than any other member, what you'd like to believe is that those conferences are going to be willing to hook you up with a little assistance in terms of legal bills, etc. Will they, won't they? Don't know. Can't know. Won't know. And again, I think we are probably a very long way off from having any sort of knowledge about how this is going to ultimately play out. But I need them to believe that's the case. So it would make sense that these schools would be willing to at least sit at the table with Brett Yormark and the rest of the Big 12 representatives and hear them out, right? At least hear them out. At least give a listen to what they have to say. Maybe the Big 12 puts something on the table that you go, actually, that is a pretty good deal. And even if we sign a media rights agreement with that conference through 2036, 2040, one of the things that I don't think that we have considered is that down the line, schools might conference hop, right? I thought about that last night. I'm like, who's to say that you don't sign an agreement with the Big Ten right now, the B1G right now, for X millions of dollars a year, and in a handful of years, you look and you go, oh, the SEC pays more. The SEC pays more. And call up the SEC and go, yo, we're done with our media rights agreement with the Big Ten in 6 years. We'll move over. And they go, okay, yeah, we feel like we feel like you would add enough brand leverage to ours that will let you brand hot. So even if Clemson and Florida State and North Carolina and Miami sign on with the Big 12 now, who's to say they don't sign a media rights agreement for X amount of years and then just look down the line and get prepared to make another conference jump to the Big Ten or to the Southeastern Conference when that media rights are great. So you make as much as you can off the Big 12 for a handful of years. And then you go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years with them. And then you get the nod from the SEC who goes, yeah, you know what? Turns out after we watched y'all play in the Big 12 and you made X amount of playoffs and you did this and you're that many time conference champions, why not make the jump? Why not make the move over? Why not make a run at us? I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of moving parts here, and we're not going to spend the whole show on this. I do feel like it is worth the discussion. It would make sense to me that Clemson, Florida State, and whoever else were having the conversation with the Big 12 for the point of discussing what could happen, what might happen, if only to show the Big 10 and the SEC, oh, we're wanted. Somebody wants us. And see if that creates any leverage for one of them to make the jump and try to invite them early. Because if they get the early invite, now they've got a lot more financial resources that they can put towards those legal bills. And I think that's big. I think that's important. All right, 1 hour in the books, and we will get away from conference expansion coming up in the next hour of the show. It is SEC Media Days down in Dallas, Texas. Shane Beamer and his Gamecocks were a part of SEC Media Days day numero uno. We're going to hear from Shano, as well as a number of personalities that covered the Southeastern Conference about what that team looks like next year. A lot of Gamecock talk coming up in the next hour. Before we get there, Sports Flash. Teoscar Hernandez is your 2024 Major League Baseball Home Run Derby winner last night. Narrowly beat Bobby Witt Jr. in a final round that saw both of them within one home run of each other. Teoscar Hernandez said that he's wanted to compete for years, finally got his opportunity, and made the most of it. After a number of years at the helm, 53-year-old Garrett Southgate has resigned as England's international manager following their Euro 2024 finals defeat to Spain. In a statement released by the English FA, Southgate said, quote, "As a proud Englishman, it has been the honor of my life to play for England and to manage England. It has meant everything to me, and I have given it my all, but it's time for change and for a new chapter." Yesterday, the LA Clippers president of basketball operations, Lawrence Frank, said the team was disappointed with USA Basketball's decision to replace Kawhi Leonard. He went on to say that the Clippers had nothing to do about the decision-making process for Kawhi to leave the team. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, dudes. Random question. Would you say you are a procrastinating game time performer or a revert to your training type guy? Oh, I'm a procrastinating game time performer. 1,000%. I am the dude that does mild preparation, does a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And then when it's time to suit up and play, I just make sure I got it. All right. Y'all stay there. 30 seconds. I'll be right back. expansion. We've obviously talked a lot about what has been going on regarding opportunities, possibilities. Greg Sankey has decided to make it more interesting. Back to SEC Media Days we go. Why? Because Greg Sankey dropped a little line yesterday. He said, asked about the expansion, potential future expansion of the Southeastern Conference, quote, 16 is our today and 16 is our tomorrow, end quote. But would he consider more? Would he consider asking, opening the door, creating an invitation for more teams to join? Well, Sankey did say, I have a responsibility to pay attention to what happens elsewhere, and I'm certainly not going to fuel speculation on what happens next. We can certainly remain at 16 for a long, long time and be incredibly successful. We're focused on our 16, period, is what he said. But then he went on to say, you can see how we've made decisions over the last decade plus for contiguous states to join. I think that's incredibly wise. It provides remarkable strength. I'm not going to guess about what happens next, end quote. Is there a possibility? Is there a possibility that the door gets open? Because Greg Sankey, if the door is open, certainly didn't make any efforts to close that door yesterday. But he also didn't kick it open. He basically said, look, we're good at 16. If we need to stay at 16, we'll stay at 16. If something opens up that needs to happen, great. Because you will notice that one of the things he went out of his way there to say was they want to continue with contiguous states. Fine. South Carolina is one. Florida is one. They're not even contiguous. They're current. But they're in the footprint. They're in the market. Does that matter? Is that if the SEC is going to expand, would they want to make sure they do it with teams that are already in the market? Clemson, Florida State. Would they want to do it with teams that would open up the market? Because I got to tell you, if the word contiguous is in play here, I got to think North Carolina becomes an option there, right? I got to think the SEC would want to open up one more border state to a footprint that they already own with North Carolina. If North Carolina is who he had in mind when he said that, is Clemson too far removed? So I don't know. All I'm going to say is this. For a guy who was doing his best to squash conference expansion talk yesterday, Greg Sankey did not do that at all. All right, let's run to a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. We'll hear some comments, some thoughts from one Shane Beamer after yesterday's SEC Media Days, day number 1. We'll do that next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, I got a live read. Stay right there for me. All right, stream. Thanks for hanging in there. Appreciate it. Sorry about that. 10-4. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate Southeastern Conference Media Days underway down in Dallas, Texas. Shane Beamer and the Gamecocks went yesterday, day number 1. Did the, what do they call it? The car wash, the wash cycle, whatever the hell it's called. Did that yesterday, was on all the shows, did his press conferences, State of the Gamecocks address, et cetera, et cetera. Got a little sound. Let's start with early in the day. I will go ahead and tell you that Shane Beamer did this interview off his phone from the backseat of a bus as he was headed to SEC Media Day, so it's not the best quality you're going to hear, but it is to me the most intriguing question he got asked and the most intriguing response that he got to give. Shane Beamer was asked, what is the primary difference between a disappointing last year and your expectations for this year?
Certainly last year was not our expectations and what we expect here at Carolina. I think it showed a lot about our team, the fact that we're sitting there at 2-6 at one point and won 3 in a row, beat Kentucky at home in a great, game, and had a chance to win the last one and finish on a 4-game winning streak, and we weren't able to get it done. So for me, it was going back as the head coach, looking at why that happened, why we were 5-7, and making the necessary adjustments and corrections in order to get it right. But then also realizing that we aren't that far off, and realizing that we're 1 or 2 plays away from last season being a lot better than what it ended up being. So for us, it's just making those adjustments, and we bring back a lot of leadership. I got 3 guys here with me today: Luke Doty, Boogie Huntley, and Debo Williams, that are fantastic leaders. They're veteran guys. They're hungry. They know that that's not what we're about, the way we finished last season. And our guys have been nothing but hungry since January. And I'm excited about kicking things off here in August.
So let's break that down. Let's give some thoughts on that. Last year was disappointing. Shane Beamer's first losing year. And obviously that's what's the word? Bad. That's bad. You don't want that to happen. But there are some reasons for optimism. One of those is the quarterbacks. You've got Lenora Sellers, a redshirt freshman, who, by the way, is a tank. Dude's 240 and can run. In fact, in just a second, I'm going to play you Shane's thoughts on his quarterbacks. He and, of course, former Auburn starter Robbie Ashford, who came over as a transfer and as of right now is the backup to Lenora Sellers. Got to work on the offensive line. Got to figure out how to run the ball. But being able to run the ball at the college level, to me, begins with making sure defenses know that you've genuinely got a quarterback. So Shane Beamer got asked about his quarterbacks.
Yeah, coming out of spring practice, we said he was our starting quarterback coming out of the spring and expect him to continue to compete and get better as the summer goes. He's somebody that came in last year as a true freshman and played in a few games, and whenever he played, he produced. And we played him in a little bit of a Wildcat type role against Kentucky late in the season. And he's just a guy, as a high school quarterback, he took a program, South Florence High School, that had him won a whole lot, led him to a state championship. He's just a winner, and our players believe in him, have rallied around him, along with Robbie Ashford, transfer from Auburn that we brought in, who's also competing in that quarterback room. He's gotten better. He's made our team better. He's made Lenoris better. Luke Doty's here with me today. He started games at quarterback way back in 2020 at South Carolina. So we've got an athletic group at the quarterback position, but, you know, it just brings a different element to the offense than what Spencer was for us last year. Robbie and Lenoris both are 240-pound guys that can run and are a load to bring down, but also throw the ball really well also. So it's a new dimension, new element to our offense that we haven't had before. And we've had a lot of time since January to try and create what we want to be about from an offensive standpoint, and excited to see what comes out of it.
The transition from Spencer Rattler to Lenoris Sellers is going to be interesting. Spencer Rattler racked up over 3,000 yards through the air last year. And he did it with no run game to speak of at all to support him. None. I mean, South Carolina could not run the ball for anything last year. What makes this year intriguing to me, and we're going to talk about the defense here in just a minute, but what makes this interesting to me this year is the dynamic possibilities of the offense. Lenoris Sellers is a bigger run threat than Spencer Rattler ever was at South Carolina. Rocket is going to have to be a dude. That's why you brought him over. You brought him over and gave him the start, Rocket Sanders, because he's got to be that guy. He's got to be him. I would go so far as to say South Carolina's success offensively is going to be predicated on Rocket Sanders. Because if Rocket Sanders can't be the guy you brought him in to be, if he's just not him, then if I'm a Southeastern Conference defense, I'm switching to a 5-man front against South Carolina. I'm switching to a 5-man front against the Gamecocks. I'm bringing extra heat because while Lenoris Sellers is a bigger threat to run, if I can make him run and never allow him to get comfortable with the pass, then I'm not worried about what that offense breaks into.
Think about it this way too. Also, majority of the teams that they're going to face, they're going to have to reconfigure their style of play. They may even have to have a spy lineup. You know, when I played, we played the 4-2-5. That was the best way to cover up spies. So, you know, Lenoris Sellers does bring that extra what if factor. And, you know, the question now is what's the O-line going to do for him? Is he going to be a pocket passer plus runner or just runner, you know?
Well, offensive creativity is a must. Shane Beamer said something about that too.
Every time I walk through that offensive staff room, there's a lot of creative juices flowing. Like, what if we did this and we could do this with this guy?
It's kind of fun, though.
No, it is. And you know, you've done our games. Obviously, we've got to be better at running the football than what we've been. We've brought in Rocket Sanders and some other running backs that'll help us there, but certainly you got to be creative. Defenses in this league are really, really, really good, as you guys know, and anything that you can do to even that playing field a little bit and create an advantage, we want to do, and certainly with our quarterback position, I think we'll be able to do that.
So again, that's kind of going to be, to me, the story of the Gamecocks this year. It is going to be, how do you get creative with the run game and open up, using Rocket Sanders, open up the field for, good God, what am I doing? Lenoris Sellers. Jeez Louise, what just happened? My brain just completely shut down. How do you use Rocket Sanders to open up the floor for Lenoris Sellers? Because I do think it is going to take some time for this team. I think it is going to take some time for Lenoris Sellers to genuinely, truly get comfortable. I think it is going to take some time for Lenoris Sellers to find his rhythm as a passer. It is going to take some time for him to find his routine as a thrower. And in order to protect him and give him that time, I'm going to need you to do a better job running the football. The good news is your entire left side of your line is returning starters from last year. you got the blind side, the left side set up well. Obviously, over on the other side is where you've got your question marks. Over on the other side is where you've got to figure out what direction you're going. I should change that up. What I should say is my trusted starters and Babalati and Moore on the left. You do have Baugh and Lee on the right. You got a sophomore and a senior on both sides. Your interior right now is going to be anchored by Simpkins. I need to be able to lean on those guys to open up the field for Raheem, for Rocket, to force a defense to stay in their spots. You are in trouble primarily if teams can start teeing off on Lenora Sellers. I need, especially earlier in the year, I need to make sure that Lenora Sellers has time to settle in. You got Old Dominion at Kentucky and LSU out of the gate. I'm going to say this. You know how I've said a number of times, I hate South Carolina's schedule for them this year. That's a big part of the reason why. You effectively have Old Dominion out of the gate to find your identity, right? I go look at some of the roster or some of the schedules for other teams. Ole Miss has Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest, Georgia Southern. They got 5 weeks before they got to play a Southeastern Conference opponent. Oklahoma's got Temple, Houston, and Tulane. Missouri's got Murray State, Buffalo, and Boston College. You got Old Dominion. That's it. You got Old Dominion to get it together. You're going Kentucky week 2. You're going LSU week 3. I'm going to tell you right now, LSU's offense is going to be very interesting. They obviously lose a ton. They lose Brian Thomas. They lose Malik Neighbors. They lose Jaden Daniels, who I think was the best quarterback in college football last year, with all due respect to Caleb Williams. You got 1 week to find your identity. And here's what I'm concerned about. You don't find your identity against Old Dominion University. You don't find your identity against the Monarchs. What happens if you don't and you drop one to Kentucky and then you drop one to LSU? You're 1-2 to start the year, which I don't think is unlikely. In fact, I think it's the most likely outcome is 1-2 to start the first 3. Yeah, you get Akron September 21st. That's a little break. You know who you got coming out of that game? Ole Miss, Alabama on the road, Oklahoma on the road, Texas A&M before you get to Vanderbilt. Genuinely tell me South Carolina might not be staring down the gun of like, what's that put you at? 2-4, 2-5?
I say like 2-5 or 2-6 even when they get to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I mean through Texas A&M, which is 8 games, you might be 2-6 at that point. And I'm going to say that is 100% dependent on if you find that identity early. I need Rocket Sanders to be used not just as a turnaround, give him the ball, let him cook kind of guy. I need you to have that creativity flowing around him just like you do around Lenora Sellers. I need him to be as much a distraction and a decoy for Lenore's. I need defenders. I need defenders to be locked in on Rocket Sanders so that I can get Lenora Sellers comfortable. I've got to be able to throw the football. I understand that it is in 2024, it is a requirement to be able to run the football in the Southeastern Conference. I'm not putting that off. Of course it is. Got to be able to run the ball. But you got to be able to throw the ball. And as much as Lenora Sellers is a dude and built like a dude, runs like a dude, I don't know right now what I can say that he is going to be as a passing quarterback. And I think a lot of that is going to be centered around what South Carolina can do to run the football. Can you run the football well enough that Lenora Sellers, can find his time? Can you run the ball well enough that he can find his stride, his comfort zone as a passer? If the answer is yes, honestly, maybe through those first 4, you can find a way to be 500. Old Dominion is beatable. Kentucky is beatable. Akron is beatable. And then you got to find me one more between LSU, Ole Miss, Alabama, and Oklahoma. And if there is one, it's at Oklahoma.
I could say either Oklahoma or A&M could be that 4th victory. So you could see maybe a 4-4 kind of record.
Honestly, listen, I really like Elko down there at A&M as coach. Honestly, I think what he did at Duke is remarkable and deserves a lot more credit than it's gotten. I also know post the Jimbo Fisher era, it's going to take him a year or two. Even in the portal era, I used to give you 3 years. When a new head coach came in, I gave you 3 years. 3 years to turn over the last guy's guys and turn your guys into the guys. I'm going to give you 1 year in the portal era. Mike Elko's got 1 year down there at A&M to get this thing turned around. So the good news is I don't disagree with that. Having Texas A&M come to your house in year 1 of the Elko regime, it's about as good as you can ask for if you're South Carolina. Maybe that's the win. I think the best case scenario is to be 4-4 through the first 8, and then you've got to win 2 more between Vandy, Mizzou, Wofford, and at Clemson. I'll go ahead and give you. Let's go the wins for sure. Old Dominion's a win. Akron is a win. Missouri, honestly, I don't know why everybody's so high on Missouri, but I won't give them as a win right now. Wofford is a win, and at Vanderbilt's a win. I need 2 more wins to get bowl eligible between Kentucky, LSU, Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Missouri, and at Clemson. I need 2 more wins. I think it is fair. I think it is fair to say missing bowl eligibility would be a disappointment for South Carolina this year. I think it's fair to say. I have asked South Carolina fans what you guys define as success. I want it on the record so that at the end of this year, Beamer's 4th, we can go back and we can say, or Beamer's 3rd going into his 4th, we can go back and we say he did or did not meet expectations for success. And I think I am going to now set the expectation at fair or not, whether or not it's overall good enough or not, that's up to you. But for a jump from last year to this year, I think it's fair to say bowl eligibility is an expectation for South Carolina this year. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Got a few more thoughts from SEC Media Days yesterday as we talk some college football here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Going to step away and hit the restroom. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. World show continues. It's the Fan of Snake. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rob Brown. Brandon had to split. So you get me solo for the rest of the show. That's all right. We're doing big stuff over here. You want to be a part of the show? Now's a spectacular time to make that happen. 844-326-3663. 844 FANFONE is the number to be a part of the show. If you'd like to do so. You can text me 71307. 71307 is the number to jump on the text line if you want to come at us in that direction. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we'll read them on the air. I do have to kind of shift all the computer stuff around. I got to do computering stuff, so you get it. Give me just a minute. I'll get the text line back up, and then we'll be able to start reading your text. We are talking quite a bit of college football today, as the SEC Media Days are currently taking place down in Dallas, Texas. We played you a little sound from Shane Beamer in that last segment. I do have some more sound that we will get to on the broadcast as we get to it. Good Lord, what is happening to me right now? Let's do this. I'm not ready for you, man. I was going to say that here's some discussion from yesterday's SEC Today radio broadcast, television broadcast on the SEC Net, where there were a bunch of voices that were all discussing what the breakdown for the Gamecocks is coming up on this year. And we'll play a little version of Hold Up. I'm going to play some of the audio. We'll say Hold Up when we get to a spot that we would like to address something. And by the way, your thoughts on this are welcome. Again, 71307 is the number if you want to text. 844-326-3663. Here was the conversation about the Gamecocks yesterday on the SEC Net.
They're going to have a young quarterback who's athletic, or Robbie Ashford, who is also very athletic. They got a lot of people back on defense. So I don't think they're that far away. I do think they have a chance to make significant improvement. I do think they have a difficult schedule. So it'll be interesting to see how this team develops.
Yeah, you sense the optimism. I would expect nothing less from Shane Beamer. We love the fact that he's enthusiastic. He's passionate, obviously. But the biggest hurdle outside of the O-line, coach, is that schedule that you mentioned. They play LSU. They play Bama. They go to Oklahoma. They play Missouri. They play Texas A&M. That's a gauntlet of a schedule for them to play. And so – the question remains, can you stay healthy when you're playing that type of a schedule? Will you get injuries later on? At the quarterback position, I love Lenore Sellers. He's a strong, fast, dual-threat quarterback, and also a guy we hadn't talked about. I'm interested to see Nick Harbor. Now, this kid ran a 10-3 in a 100-meter dash, and so he's got athletes on his football team. It's a matter of doing what they do well, Greg, which is forcing turnovers. He mentioned that. They're always great when they can create some fumbles, some interceptions, but also playing well on special teams. They've had a standard there of special teams play.
Yeah.
You'd expect that to carry over even with another special teams.
And Pete Limbo's not there anymore, and he, was one of the best special teams coordinators in the country. The guy was unbelievable, and they just manufactured wins. They beat Clemson 2 years ago because of special teams, which is mind-blowing. I think another hire that probably not spending enough time on is Sean Elliott.
Yeah.
Now, I look at Sean Elliott, left the head coaching position to step back into a role he's occupied 2010 to 2013. And he's going to be the tight ends coach, run game coordinator. I think they're going to be a little bit different offensively. I don't expect Lenore Sellers to drop back 40 times and throw it the way Rattler did. So I think they're going to be able to keep the defensive line off balance a little bit by reading different personnel and be pretty creative in the run game too. So, and if they can run the ball effectively, that will ultimately shrink the game a little bit, which will only improve their defense, which I think is going to be pretty good, probably middle to top half of the league. And then you've got a complementary football team that can be dangerous. So remember, this is a team that had Georgia down 14-3 last year at halftime. Good point. So they can play. They just got to play for 60 minutes, and that's a challenge.
Coach Beamer mentioned it. They returned a lot of those defenders. Go ahead, Coach.
No, I just wanted to make a point about they've done a great job of creating turnovers and having a pretty good turnover ratio on their team, which I think is important to winning. They need to be able to make more explosive plays.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to come, to your point, in running the ball and having great play action passes to throw the ball down the field rather than dropping back, because they had too many negative plays last year when they tried to drop back.
All right, so there's some thoughts that you had. You had some thoughts there from Nick Saban, Greg McElroy, amongst others. And what I will say is that I'll start with I don't have an issue with any of it. All right, there's not a take in that group that I necessarily thought was, off base. I think it's all pretty fair. I think it's all pretty standard, right? Like, I don't think there's anything that jumps off the page as, oh, wow, can't believe he's going that direction. I think it's all fair. I think that Nick Harbor, by the way, on this offense, there is one wide receiver in total that's over 6'5", and it's Nick Harbor. Nick Harbor goes 6'2", and that's it. That's your jump ball guy. And I am intrigued by what the play is, how you work around that, right? This is part of the reason that I've said I think a big chunk of this for me is going to be creativity is going to be required in this offense. And that is a part of the reason why. A part of the reason why is because you just don't have that guy when you get down into the red zone that is going to be your primary threat. That guy's not there for you. You got a 6'5" Nick Harbor and then nobody else. So when you get into a spot down in the red zone, if I'm a defensive coordinator against you, I know what I'm doing, right? I'm just shading extra defenders to wherever Nick Harbor is, and I'm going to do my darndest to take that guy away from you. That is why creativity is mandated for South Carolina this year. How are you going to work around that? How are you going to create an offense that when defenses know you don't have that guy, that big play guy, that Xavier Legette, that Juice Wells, when they know you don't have that character available in that big spot, how are you going to work around that? And I think it is going to be a matter of not telegraphing the answer to that question. I think it is going to be a matter of making sure that no matter where you are and no matter what the game plan is, everyone is a threat. I need everyone to be a threat. I need tight ends to be a threat. I need Rocket Sanders to be a threat. I need everybody available to be a threat on offense this year because I cannot have a situation where they feel like they can shade to your athletes. Your athletes are Nick Harbor. Your athlete is Rocket Sanders. Your athlete is Lenora Sellers. Now, there's other guys I'm intrigued by, right? Like, I'm intrigued to see what the future of Mizio Bennett is, the young man, the freshman from around here. I'm intrigued to see what kind of gadgets they work Luke Doty into this year. There's some other players that I'm interested to see what their role is, how they fit into all of this. But however you decide to utilize all of them, I need to make sure that top to bottom, everybody is considered a threat so that defenses can't start just leaning on your guy, your one or two, you're the guy, and take them away from you. That is why I love that answer about creativity from Shane Beamer, because to me, that needs to be the identity this year. Your identity must be that your team is wildly creative with the football. Your identity must be that everybody's a threat. Yeah, our heavy hitters are our heavy hitters. Yes, our big names are our big names. Yes, our guys are going to be the guys. And you know our guys are going to be the guys. But we got other guys too. If you don't have that creativity, if you were not using Rocket Sanders, if you were not using Nicholas Harbor to get the most out of that, you're going to be it's going to be a long year. I have already said, to me, personally, bowl eligibility should be an expectation this year. And I think it's a realistic one. I don't think I'm asking too much by saying 6 wins. I think 6 wins is fair. I think it's possible. I think there are 4 guarantees on the schedule, or at least they better be guarantees. 4 guarantees on the schedule, and then you just got to go find me 2 more. And I don't think it's possible. I think it should be an expectation. LA Dodgers star Teoscar Hernandez is your 2024 MLB Home Run Derby champion after narrowly defeating Kansas City's Bobby Witt Jr. last night. The center fielder, who will get the start for the National League in tonight's All-Star game, defeated the Phillies' Alec Bohm in the semifinals with a swing-up and then knocked 14 over the fence to Bobby Witt Jr.'s 13th final. Days after leading England to a Euro Cup final and runner-up finish, English manager Gareth Southgate has stepped down from the position. The 53-year-old played 57 matches for country and managed 102, led England to a 2018 World Cup semifinal and the Euro Cup finals in 2020 and 2024. The U.S. men's basketball team faced one of their toughest tests as they prepared for the Olympics and came out victorious with a 98-92 win over Australia yesterday in Abu Dhabi. Anthony Davis provided 17 and 14 in just 18 minutes, while Ant-Man Edwards added 14 of his own. The U.S. scored 32 in the first quarter, gave up 68 in the paint. All right, guys, I am obviously rolling solo. I got to make a couple of adjustments here, so if you'll do me a favor and stay right there, I will be back very, very shortly. we're back, dudes and dudettes. Thank you guys for hanging in there. Sorry about the delay. Unexpectedly producing for myself today.
But he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Granger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, the ones who get it done.
Everyone, Boomer Esiason here. Superchargers, headlights, and more. With over 122 million parts, eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Stay on your A game with all the parts that you need at the prices you want. It's easy to bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Upstate. WORD Spartanburg.
WFBC HD3, the official sports voice of the Upstate fan.
Upstate.
And Odyssey Sports Station.
Man, check this out.
For an official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents me to win.
Yeah. Unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. Lockdown. This is the Rob Brown Show. Get Rob. Only.
Just Florida.
Here we go. Hour number 3 of the Rob Brown Show is underway. Welcome back. My favorite people, you, the Armada. You're all amazing. Thank you for being here. 844-326-3663 is the number to the Renewal by Anderson to the Carolinas fan phone. If you want to get on the air, you can text to 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N. And we will read those on the air as well. The text line is up and running this morning. So, couple of different ways to jump on board. Texter says, Rob, after work today, run and get a PS5 or an Xbox. EA College Football 25 is worth the hype. I played 5 hours last night. I want you to know, and I mean this, I'm going to get comfortable for a minute because I'm going to lament here for just a second. I've told I think I told this story on the show yesterday, but I'll tell it again. Why not? I got time. I told this story on the show yesterday. I told my fiance earlier this week. And I don't think I've ever meant anything as much as I meant this. And if she doesn't get it, I don't know what to say. If there, ladies, is ever a doubt in your relationship at all, right? Like if you've ever had a doubt about your fella. If that man is a football fan, a college football fan specifically, and if that man is currently not playing a video game to spend time with you in any way, shape, or form, that man loves you. All right. I play video games. Judge me as you wish. And I have been playing the same Xbox One since I got it, however many years it's been ago. And I have been saying for like a very long time that I would buy a next generation console whenever the time was right. And I just didn't know what it was going to be. Well, 2 things have happened. Number one, a lot of the games that I do like playing are cross-platform or cross-gen, which means I can play them on the new or the old console. So I haven't really needed to buy a new console recently. I haven't really needed to buy a new console because the overwhelming majority of what I want to play, I can play it on the Xbox One. However, this year, the shift is on. This year, the shift is happening. As of now, the games that I have always wanted to play, they're starting to move over. They are starting to become next gen only, meaning I can't play them on the Xbox One. So there's my lean for getting it. Number 2, EA Sports College Football 2025 is only next gen. So that was the trigger, right? That's the moment I was going to buy myself my next gen console. Except for I get married in mid-September. And I've heard over and over it's expensive, it's expensive, it's expensive. But at the same time, like, I'm if you're gonna do it, go big kind of guy. All right? Always have been. If you're gonna throw a party, throw a damn party. And so the fiance and I decided, like, all right, we're not gonna elope. We thought about it, we talked about it. We very briefly discussed the possibility of just eloping. But we said, we're not gonna elope because we like our people, we like our friends, we like our family. Most of them. And so since we like our friends and we like our family, instead of eloping, let's throw a party, right? Like the wedding's a nice excuse to throw a party. I've been told it was expensive. I had no idea, right? Like when we started actually doing the planning, I went to her and I was like, all right, I'll cut you a check for $5,000 today. And she's like, yeah, but what about the rest of it? I did not know. So, because I found out very quickly that $5,000 wasn't going to cover the photographer for that day, I was like, all right, I'll put off the console, right? I'll put off the console. And I have put off the console. I haven't gotten it yet. Well, what I'll say is this. Yesterday, I went up to the local big box store because I needed some stuff. The fiance wanted a little treat from the store. I needed some stuff from the store, so I went up. And I made the mistake of detouring into the electronics section of the big box store. And there it was, the Xbox Series X sitting right there, brand new box, 1 terabyte of storage, and EA Sports College Football 25. And I got to tell you, I did not immediately pull out the card and be like, swipe this, and like in the description box on the purchase, type in there literally anything else. Type in there that it's a vet bill for the dog. I didn't do that, right? Because I'm a good man. I'm a good man. I'm a better man than that. But then I went home and I was watching the All-Star game, home run derby. I was watching the home run derby. We'll talk about that coming up in a minute too. I was watching the home run derby. And as I watched the home run derby, I decided, let's check out Twitter. X. Let's jump on X. Let's see what's going on in the world of X right now. See what people are talking about. And there were 2 primary conversations taking place. The first primary conversation was about the absolute atrocity, the war crime on the ears that was the national anthem before the Derby last night. Don't worry, we're going to get some more of that coming up in a minute as well. And the second thing was all of my friends playing college football 2025. My stream was full of clips. It was full of reactions. It was full of breakdowns. It was full of previews. It was full of reviews. It was full of people telling me how they've already played through the first 2 or 3 seasons of Dynasty mode. They played through all of it. And the fiance came in for a minute because before the home run derby, we watched House of the Dragon. We usually watch it on Mondays. Sunday night's super busy and we got to go to bed. Doesn't come on until 9 o'clock. And yes, I realize that's the boomerish I've ever sounded. But we watch it on Mondays. So we watched House of the Dragon. We got done that at 7:45. I ran up to the big box store. I was back at the house at 8:05, just in time for pitch 1, swing 1. And as I was sitting there watching the Derby, she came back into the bro cave. She sat on the couch. and I'm watching the Derby on one hand. I got Twitter going on the laptop. I'm looking at the comments, and I spun around in my cool guy gaming chair, which I can now tell you does not make you a better gamer, but whatever, not the point. I spun around in the chair, and I said, "Hey, I love you. I really do. And if you've ever doubted that I love you, please know right now, this moment, though it's not going to mean anything to you, this moment in my life proves that you're the most important thing, that you are my priority." And she went, "Why? We're not even talking, right?" Because I think we've hit that point, and I think I think some of you married guys, you might be able to give me a bit of, I don't know, feedback on this. But I think it's a good thing in a relationship when you hit the point that you can just sit in a room together and not talk to each other and be perfectly content with it. Because that's where we are, right? We're at a point she can sit on the couch. I'm in the gaming chair. She's on her phone. I'm on the Xbox or watching TV or whatever it is. And we can sit there and not talk, and it's still the best, half hour of my day. So I spun around and I said, if you've ever doubted that I love you, this moment proves that I do. And she goes, "Why?" And I said, "Because I want you to know. I was in the big box store earlier, and I went to the electronics department, and I didn't buy the Xbox, and I didn't buy College Football 2025. If that is not sacrifice for love, I don't know what is. If that is not proof of love, I don't know what is." Because if Rob Brown forget single, if Rob Brown wasn't engaged, Rob Brown's, $500 or whatever it is, would have been committed on the spot. I'd have bought it on the spot. I'd have gone home, and you wouldn't have heard from me for like the next 3 or 4 or 5 nights. But I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. I'm going to hold off. I'm going to make sure everything is paid for. I'm going to make sure everything is taken care of. We've got family members that are being very kind and gracious, and they are chipping in towards the cost of the wedding. It is greatly appreciated. But that also means that we got some extra scratch laying in the bank account that I can't go, "Buy an Xbox." I got to put that aside. I got to wait. I got to hold off. So ladies, I am going to tell you right now, if there's a fella in your life that is right this very second electing to spend extra time with you instead of jumping on and playing a video game, playing College Football 2025, please know that man adores you. That man loves you more than life. I found this actually. I was going to get to this. I was going to get to this later, if I did at all. I was going to get to this later, but I'm going to go ahead and do it now because I think it's important. I found this clip yesterday on the internet, which is a terrible place, and no one should ever go there. But I found this clip on the internet, and I wanted to play it because I think it's right in line with this discussion. There's a young lady who filmed a TikTok, a reel, whatever, a video that she put on the internet, and she was talking about what she thinks is a problem. And I won't say it's not, but I'm not going to say that it is. A problem that she just discovered in her relationship. And I watched this clip, and then I listened to it. And when I watched this clip and I listened to it, I immediately thought, this young lady doesn't know how good she has it. Here's the clip.
The number one marriage advice I've been given since getting engaged is that you should talk about finances with your significant other. And today I found out that we have a major issue. He has played 841 songs on TouchTunes. That means he spent almost $1,000 playing music at bars.
Okay. Now, in fairness, I understand that, right? TouchTunes, for those of you that don't know, TouchTunes is it's an app you put on your phone, And at certain jukeboxes in different watering holes around the country, you can utilize this app to control the jukebox without having, an old school jukebox, you had to get up and go put your quarter in the slot and A7 and pick your song or whatever. With this app, you can do that from your table, right? So you can put in your song on the jukebox and never get up, and you link your credit card, and you buy X amount of credits, and if you use your card for every $1 you spend, you get an extra song or whatever. All right, so this man, over some length of time, has spent $1,000 playing music on the jukebox. And I will acknowledge that when I heard that, I was like, all right. Like that, I guess I get it, right? In everyday America, $1,000 is not money, right? $1,000 is not free. But then the second half of the video started. And I want you to listen to where the green flag got thrown up the mast.
I don't know if this is a red flag or a green flag to some, but you can also see they're all just the Purdue fight song half the time at Kilroy's.
My man spent $1,000 at the bar on the jukebox, and over half of those times were the Purdue fight song. How about the Boilermakers? Lady, listen to Rob Brown, the doctor of love. They call me Dr. Love. Listen to the doctor of love here. You have found the most green flag man you could find. All right, you did. You just did. You found a green flag guy. Why? Tell me you're ever going to question that man's commitment, would you? Tell me you're ever going to question that man's loyalty. Tell me you're ever going to wonder if that man has an issue being honest and true. That man spent $1,000 just to make sure that everybody in the bar had to listen to his fight song. Not only has that man shown commitment, not only has that man shown loyalty, but he's also shown that if he loves something, he wants everybody around him to know it. All right? I've said this one to my female friends in the past. If you want to know how a guy feels about you, I'm going to make it really easy for you. If you want to know how a guy feels about you, just go out in public with him. And don't encourage anything, right? Like don't go be clingy. Don't put your arm around him. Don't lean in on him. Don't put your head on his shoulder. You go out with him and just stay close to him. Just stay close to him and see what he does. Because if that man really likes you, he's going to make it known, all right? He's going to put his arm around you. He's going to pull you in close. He's going to touch you. He's going to put his hand on yours. He's going to touch your shoulder. He's going to be standing facing you. That's how you know. This man just proved to the world that if he loves something, not only does he want everybody to know, he's going to make everybody know. That dude spent $1,000 playing the Purdue fight song that many times just so everybody in the bar over and over and over and over again knows he loves him a Boilermaker. That's a man unafraid to show what he loves in public. Lady, that's the green. All right, when we come back, Adam Thielen did an interview where he talked a little bit about the Carolinas, about Bryce Young, about the wide receiver core. I got some audio from Carolina Panther veteran Adam Thielen. We'll come back on the Rob Brown Show. All right, guys, got a live read right here. Then we're coming back. Do me a favor. Stay right there for me. I will be right back. guys, we're back. Thanks for hanging in there for me. Much appreciated. I'm going to switch chairs. I hate this chair so much.
An overnight thing. It's a long ways to go before they get to door this to the playoff team.
Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson.
Better chair.
You're in hot water, mister. What'd I do? I told you months ago our utility bills were getting higher because of that old outdated tank water heater.
Maybe it's time we finally switch to the Navien tankless. Learn about Navien's high-efficiency tankless water heaters, endless hot water, all while helping you save on your energy costs.
Hey, look.
I told Bryce after the
Bill is lower since we got the Navien tankless water heater.
Who's in hot water now?
We are all the time.
Learn more at tanklessmadesimple.com.
How many Rock and Roll Hall of Famers have been on the Talk is Jericho podcast with me, Chris Jericho? Well, gee, let's see how many I can name off the top of my head. Metallica, Kiss, Slash, and Duff from Guns N' Roses, Angus Young, Brian Johnson from AC/DC, Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You want more? I got so many more, but I'm all out of time right now. So come rock with me, Chris Jericho on Talk is Jericho. Listen to and follow now on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Today, sunny to partly cloudy, high 94, low 77. Weather brought to you by USPS Ground Advantage. Simple, affordable, reliable. Turn shipping to your advantage with USPS Ground Advantage from the United States Postal Service.
Sponsored by South Carolina Education Lottery. Scratch your way to the ultimate Las Vegas trip for you and 3 guests by entering eligible Gold Rush scratch-off tickets from the SC Education Lottery. Get your tickets today from your local lottery retailer. Check out SCEducationLottery.com or the Players Club app for promotion information.
Early birds get the sports scoop. The Rob Brown Show, now morning 6 to 10.
On the Fan Upstate.
Courtship texted the show. He said, that's all my wife really wants. Sitting on the couch together, doing our own thing, whenever watching TV or playing on our phones. Yeah, I'll tell you, man. Like I said, I think that I think there's nothing better than when you hit that spot, right? I think there's nothing better than when you can sit on the couch and not say anything, and it's the best conversation of the day. And it's the best, man. And if on top of that, that means I also get to, take ECU in dynasty mode to the Natty, so be it. So be it. Texter said, Rob, I tried to take my Sooners on a playoff run as soon as NCAA 25 came out, and brother, let me tell you, the mechanics on the game are not like we're used to. I was overwhelmed, so I decided to change my strategy and learn how to play the game as Texas and absolutely nuke the Texas Longhorn program. Said, I'm taking cutting everyone over 2 stars, recruiting only 0-star players, scheduling FCS teams, all the works. I'm 0-3, and I bet they fire me after the next loss. Boomer! I got to tell you, I like the game strategy, not of succeed with my program, but intentionally tank yours. I love that. I love that. That's phenomenal. That might be the play. I'm going to play half of my game as a dynasty to take Furman to the Natty. And then I'm going to play half my game as the dynasty to run Texas A&M into the ground. I respect that. Boomer, back to you, bud. All right. Adam Thielen is a wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers. He is back on this team this year. And Adam Thielen did an interview earlier this week with Yahoo Sports. He got asked a couple of questions. Wanted to talk a little bit about it. Start with his take on the new head coach of the Carolina Panthers, Dave Canales.
I think it's funny because when he was initially hired, I just felt like everyone was talking about how much energy he had and this young guy. And then you kind of get around him, you kind of expect this like rah and like super passion, energy. And that's not really the case, but in a great way. I think he has a really good demeanor about him that's like very confident, and it is energy, but it's not like rah and yelling and screaming. It's just this confident and just very trusting person that just kind of lets it fly. He's like, hey, like, this is what we do, and we're going to do it really well. And if it doesn't go really well, that's okay. We get another chance the next time we're out there. So it's a really cool demeanor that I wasn't necessarily expecting. Like you said, you hear about this like super energetic, passionate guy, and I don't feel like that's the case. He does have a lot of energy and passion for the game of football, but he just kind of he just instills confidence with his kind of demeanor.
So that's kind of the reputation right now of Dave Canales, right? Like a guy that doesn't have, he's not over the top with the gas. He's not over the top with the energy. He's not over the top as a guy that's like going to be hooting and hollering and yelling and screaming. It's intensity. And it is the exact opposite of Frank Reich, right? Like I will eat it when I need to eat it. I was wrong about Frank Reich. When Frank Reich showed up, I'm like, this guy knows how to run an offense. He should be exciting, whatever. Frank Reich was one of the most boring coaches I've ever been around. And that's not to say boring is bad. Bill Belichick was one of the most boring people in history. Every time Bill Belichick spoke, it was a snooze fest. Let's go to Bill Belichick and hear what he has to say. Oh, and now my board's not going to work. Ask Stellar. Whatever. I was going to play the sad trombone sound. Whatever. Point is, I don't need you to be gassed up all the time. I don't need you to be a constant ball of caffeine. That's my job. I can help you cover that. All right. That's what I do. I just need you to be a good coach. But man, being gassed up, being energetic, and being a good coach is a great way to get your players on board. All right. And Frank Reich was like the opposite of that. Frank Reich was just a snoozer. Frank Reich lost me like immediately. First press conference. I was like, this guy is going to put me to sleep. And if I, as somebody who wants the team to do well, somebody who roots for the team to do well so that I get paid more money, if I can't get on board, if I can't get excited, how are the players supposed to, man? Like if I can't get gassed, how are the players supposed to listen and line up behind a dude? All right, Adam Thielen went on to say a little bit more. He talked about the struggles in year one of Bryce Young and what he expects the rebound to look like.
I told Bryce after the season was over, I said, I know that this was a difficult year for you and many others, but I think it's the best thing that ever happened to him. I truly believe that. I think he's going to look back 10 years, 15 years from now, and he's going to say, man, I'm so glad that happened my rookie year, the adversity that I had to face, the things that were out of his control that happened. It really, I think, just made him a stronger leader, stronger person, a stronger man. And I'm really excited to see, him take what happened last year and really build off of it and take some of the positives and learn from the negatives, and as a team as well. So really excited to see his career unfold, and I'm glad and very excited to be a part of the first few years and see what happens.
I hate to say it because, and I've said this before, like platitudes feel useless to me, right? Like platitudes are useless to me. I apologize to the stream. I know the camera's blurry. I'm trying to get it fixed. Platitudes feel largely useless to me. If I can't quantify it, if I can't objectify it, if I can't make numbers out of it, it's kind of a waste of time. This is why I do my best. I do not succeed in any way, shape, or form. But I do my best to avoid cliches for a reason, right? I used to have on the show, I probably need to bring it back. I've probably got it saved somewhere. But I used to have the cliche sounder. The cliche sounder was an alarm that I would hit anytime that a coach would do coach speak or a player would do player speak. I would play the cliche alert. Because cliches to me are sometimes useful, but a way to say something without actually saying anything. I'm going to lean on a cliche here. Or maybe it's not like a popular cliche, but I do think it fits here. Sometimes you've got to hate the rain to appreciate a sunny day. Sometimes you can't appreciate the good without the bad. Sometimes you got to get punched in the face to understand how good it is to not get punched in the face. Sometimes you got to have your event get rained out to appreciate a good sunny day for the next one. And I kind of feel like Bryce Young, how many times was it hit on that Bryce Young has gone this many years of his career and never lost? He doesn't know what losing was. He doesn't know what it felt like to not be able to get the job done. Now he damn sure knows what that feels like, right? Now he knows better than anybody else what that feels like. And I got a sneaky suspicion he's going to want to do whatever the hell he can do to avoid that again. So I don't really have an issue. Oh, look, I got myself. Gentlemen, I don't have any doubt that Bryce Young is going to do everything he can to avoid that feeling again. Is it good Bryce Young got his ass kicked last year? Probably not. But is it good that now he understands that feeling? Now he understands what he's been through and he understands what brought them there so he can hopefully avoid it? Yeah, I'd say yes to that. I'd say yes to that. All right, last one. Adam Thielen spoke about the receiver room.
Yeah, it's been really exciting offseason to see those guys go to work. Some of the young guys get so much better. Mingo, Terrace Marshall. There's so many talented guys that weren't really able to kind of be themselves last year, maybe years in the past. So it's really been really cool to see them grow as players. And then Deontay, just a special football player. You see the way that he moves, change direction, can really track the football. And you could tell it was an instant boost to that group and to our team. So very excited about that. And then always great to have a kind of talented rookie coming in that has a different skill set than the rest of us. You know, he's a big, strong, physical, fast guy that can do a lot of things. And when you're able to have a few guys that can do a lot of different things, it just creates a very easy, organic way to have success on offense, because you can kind of move guys around. You can kind of let guys line up and play football because everybody can kind of do a lot of different things, whether it's long or, deep, short, intermediate. When you have a lot of guys that can do all three, it really creates an opportunity for the offensive coordinator to open up the playbook.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with this. And I'm actually pretty excited about this. Deontay Johnson's flying under the radar. We're all talking about Xavier Legette, as we should, because XL's the best. XL's the dude. And I hope XL turns out to be the guy we want him to be.
That'll be great, man.
But nobody's talking about Deontay. I went after the trade to get Deontay and talked to some Steelers fans in different forums and websites and all that. I went and looked and talked to some Pittsburgh fans. And what I got told was that Carolina fans are going to love this guy. Carolina fans are going to be over the moon for this guy. Carolina fans are going to be all about this cat because he's a playmaker. He's a creator. He understands that the route may call for 7 and in, but the play is 9 and in. Does that make sense? The route may call for a 7 and in, but the play is at 9 and in. Deontay Johnson understands that. What they said was, and I think it's fair, what they said was this: What they said was, if he and Bryce can get on the same page, if he and Bryce can get on the same page, if he and Bryce can get comfortable, if he and Bryce can get to the spot that these two cats understand where the other is going to be, why the other's going to be there, and develop that chemistry, then this guy's going to make Bryce Young better. And the more I've watched about Deontay, the more I've seen Deontay, the more I've listened to Deontay, the more I have gotten on board that what we should be excited about out of the gate, and it's not to say that Xavier Legette won't be that guy long term, but what we should be excited about out of the gate is Deontay, not Excel. And it's not to say not to be excited about Excel. Should be excited about Excel. But the more I've read, the more I've come to the conclusion what we should be gassed up about the most is not Xavier Legette, although I am, because Xavier's the best. Excel's the best. But what we should be gassed about is Deontay Johnson and the additions that he brings to the offense. And the fact that if anybody is going to get BY on a heater early, it's not Xavier Legette. If anybody is going to get BY developed early in the season, it's going to end up being Deontay Johnson. And I think that's big. I think that's interesting. And I think that's the dynamic we haven't really talked about yet that we probably need to. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Got some more thoughts on that and more on the Ron Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, quick live, and then we're coming back. Stay right there for me. Be right back.
away from what C.J. Spiller said is, why do you have to replace it? I wasn't that guy, is what C.J. said. You know, James Davis, when James was here the first 2 years before C.J. came on before he came on the scene, James Davis was a very rah-rah guy. Well, C.J. comes on the scene. He was very quiet, right? Kept to himself. So I think that's the biggest takeaway is, in my opinion, you don't have to have that rah-rah guy. You know, everybody's personality is different. And you know, from what I watched last year, sometimes I was kind of fed up with Shipley on the sideline, you know?
I've talked about this in the past, Cole Bryson, and I want your thoughts on it. Like everybody talks about, and it's not just Clemson. Every college program does this, but they talk about, well, our culture, right? This is the Clemson way, the Auburn way, the Gator way, whatever the case might be. As if not only can't that evolve, can't that morph based on where your program is, the players you have in the program, et cetera, it should, right? Like you should not take a player who's kind of got that stoic, let's go to work mentality and say, I need you rah-rah, shish, boom, bang on the sideline, and vice versa. Like if you got a player that finds joy in football and is out there loving his life and hopping around, you shouldn't try to say, my man, put on the suit and tie and button it down. I think it's important to fit personality to culture, but I also think it's important to fit culture to personality.
And that's true. And that's probably the majority of the questions this morning to Coach Spiller were about Mafah, you know, about what fans could expect from him and how he is a little bit different of a personality, to your point, than Will Shipley was. You know, I think from what I've taken away from what Coach Spiller said this morning and from what I've heard during the offseason, I think Clemson is in a better position at running back having one guy. Obviously, he has to stay healthy. But look, having two great running backs, there's nothing wrong with. C.J. Spiller and James Davis, when they were that thunder and lightning, they were fantastic. However, I think sometimes having one guy might be more beneficial. Obviously, he has to stay healthy, but Phil Mafah having the chance this year to go take the rock and go make a name for himself, I think you could see a better or a more efficient offense because of that, because you do have some consistency at running back. I know it's not quarterback. It's not the quarterback position, right? You say two quarterbacks equals no quarterbacks, and it's not true for running backs, but I do think some consistency at that position will be good for Clemson this year.
I do not disagree. And to me, Phil Mafah kind of is that cat, right? Like Phil Mafah's got the opportunity to be that guy. I love this dude. And again, you're right. He's kind of like the button down, calm down, I'm just going to go out there and go to business kind of dude. But we also saw last year in the bowl game, he means business, man. Like he runs hard, he plays hard. He's there to kind of prove his value and prove his worth, which is why and I absolutely did love Will Shipley. I go back 2 years ago, Cole Bryson, Will Shipley was the reason that Clemson had that come from behind victory over Florida State at home. That to me was kind of a tipping point that could have gone way worse for him. I loved Will Shipley. But to me, Phil Mafah is the dude this year. Did C.J. Spiller kind of lean on that?
He did. Phil Mafah is the dude. And another thing that C.J. Spiller talked about this morning was a great question from Jason Priester this morning was the competition behind Phil Mafah, like with guys like Jarvis Green from Dutch Fork. You know, there's a very, very tight race. And C.J. talked about how right now, you know, knock on wood, the running back room is as healthy as it's ever been, you know, heading into fall camp, which is a good thing. So there seems to be a very healthy competition behind Phil if something were to happen to the starting running back for Clemson. Obviously, if he can be a guy that maintains his health throughout the season, I think you will see them take a little workload off of him. I still think it'll be 80% plus because he is your guy. And kind of back to your point about him and Shipley last year, Mafah to me, and listen, you're right. Shipley was phenomenal. At times, he was the catalyst of that offense. However, when you talk about game-breaking and game-changing playmakers, I think Phil Mafah, to me, is more of that guy than Shipley was. So I think if you're a Clemson fan and Mafah stays healthy, you know, obviously I think you'll see a little bit of mix of running backs behind him. But I think that, listen, I have no idea what Lincoln Riley's plan is in terms of how he splits the offense in terms of passing and running. But, man, I would lean heavy on Phil Mafah in 2024.
Without a doubt. All right, what has the conversation been about the wide receivers from the offensive coaches so far? Because, listen, whether or not Cade Klubnik develops further this year, and I think this is something that kind of gets overlooked by a lot of folks, Cole, whether or not Cole Klubnik develops is going to have a lot to do with whether or not a young receiver core is going to be able to step up and be him for him. Like Trevor Lawrence is having the same issue in Jacksonville. I made the point a bunch of times. I'm not worried about Trevor Lawrence, but when Christian Kirk's the best guy you're going to give him, of course he's not going to look like he did at Clemson. Is Cade Klubnik kind of in the same position right now, or do they trust the young guys they're building up there?
Well, they do trust him. However, I think it's a great point because we have to remember, for as critical as we are of Cade Klubnik at times, right, as critical as people are of him during last season, you also have to take into consideration the receiving core. And if you ask people, pundits, experts across the nation who have covered college football from a national perspective as well as Clemson, the one thing that's been the biggest difference between the past few years and between Clemson when they were winning national championships, obviously Deshaun and Trevor Lawrence, they're pretty important, but the receiving core is the biggest difference, Rob. They haven't had the dudes, right? Like Tyler Brown, they have a lot of faith in becoming the dude, but Cade Klubnik, for as much criticism as he gets, we also have to be fair and look at, has he had anywhere close to the receivers that Trevor and Deshaun Watson had, and even Taj Boyd, right? And my answer to that would be no. So you gotta listen. You have no choice. You asked the question about the young guys stepping up. There's not a DeAndre Hopkins walking through the door. So these young guys have to step up. You have no choice.
Yeah, I mean that's again like that to me, and we'll talk about the defense a little bit on tomorrow's show because I believe the defensive coaches are a little bit later in the morning. Yeah. So focusing on the offense and whether or not guys like Brown are going to be able to kind of step into that role and be that guy, I think that's what gets lost is you go back and you talk about whichever of the litany of Clemson quarterbacks that's made Dabo successful you want to talk about, whether it's Trevor or Deshaun or anybody else in the mix. All of them had dudes.
Yeah.
This is where the conversation gets interesting to me. It's part of Dabo's job. It's part of the offensive coach's job to go find dudes and then turn them into dudes. So I can't really use they don't have the wide receivers they used to have as like an off the hook argument. They're not.
No, I'm with you there. However, I don't look at that as much of the development side of things as I do the recruitment and portal side of things. What I mean is you didn't have to develop DeAndre Hopkins and Sammy Watkins a ton, right? They were so raw. They came in and they made an immediate impact. You don't have those guys in the program. To me, that's not as much of a development issue as it is a recruiting issue. And I think to your point, that's where you do point the finger. You do point the blame and say, well, why haven't you gotten those dudes in the last 6 years, right? Because that is a major part of the offense. And quite frankly, you've lacked in that position.
Without a doubt. All right, if I ask you, we got about 2 minutes left, Cole Bryson. Ask you what so far, Cole Bryson from Wire to Wire with Cole and Diesel covering Clemson's media open house today. I'll be joining him right after the show is over. If I ask you right now, what has stood out so far this morning? There's always like a coach comment here or there that's jumped off the page at me. What would it be for you so far this morning?
The thing that's jumped out is the amount of media here. Are we at a Clemson open house media day or are we at the ACC media day? I mean, I'm not kidding. It is unbelievably difficult to try to get questions in and to try to get good audio when there are, I mean, I'm looking in the room right now. I bet there's 50 plus media members here. And, it's Clemson, right? It's one of the top programs in the country. But that's what stood out. It's not anything a coach or a player has said yet. It is the amount of media members that are present this morning for this media day.
Yeah, it's the last couple of years I've gone, it's been like that. And then Thursday at ACC Media Day, we'll do the show live Thursday morning and then hang around for Clemson's appearance. It's that way every year at ACC Media Days, right? Like there's one day where you get you get Syracuse and Boston College showing up and there's 30 people there. And then the minute that Dabo steps into the building because all of a sudden it becomes a damn Kiss concert.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what? It's fun when you start out covering D2 football and doing play-by-play for D2 football when you start out your radio broadcast career, and all of a sudden you start coming to these ACC or Clemson media days, and it's like, oh, you actually get handed stuff. You know how it is. D2 schools compared to D1, the coverage is just it's on a different level. So excited to see you here. Be safe and don't speed.
I made no promises, but we'll find out. We will have, I'm sure you guys on Wire to Wire today will have some audio and some quotes from the event, I'm sure. Please feel free to promote yourself here.
Absolutely. We'll have CJ Spiller audio, Dabo Swinney audio, and maybe even a little Lincoln Riley audio as well.
Oh, I like it. We'll see how that plays out. I would advise, and this is just me. I might get Garrett Riley audio before I get Lincoln Riley audio, though.
Did I say Lincoln?
Yeah, you did.
Well, I would be on the opposite side of the country, right? I'm on the wrong side of the country if I want to get Lincoln Riley audio. So,
speaking of
good
the
advice
country,
there.
How big of a fan were you of that national anthem last night?
Yeah, that was the worst thing I think I've ever heard. Listen, I've never been a singer. I've never claimed to be. But I can promise you one thing. If you handed me a microphone and told me to go do better than that, I think I could do it. And I'm not even trying to be funny. That was pitiful last night.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Cole Bryson is going to host a rousing rendition of Wire to Wire with Cole and Diesel this afternoon, 3 to 7, including a bunch of audio from today's Clemson Media Open House. Thanks for coming by, big fella.
Thanks, man. Talk to you soon.
You got it. Cole Bryson from Wire to Wire. We got to run to a break. Top of the hour is just around the corner. In the next hour, we will spend some time talking about the Clemson Tigers because, we just did with Cole. Why not do it a little bit more? We'll talk a little Tiger Woods and then whatever the hell else y'all want to get to on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. The U.S. men's basketball team faced one of their toughest tests as they prepare for the Olympics and came out victorious with a 98-92 win over Australia yesterday in Abu Dhabi. Anthony Davis provided 17 points and 14 points in just 18 minutes, while Anthony Edwards added 14 of his own. The U.S. scored 32 points in the first quarter and spent the rest of the game smoothing out the offense, while Australia scored 68 of their 92 in the paint. The U.S. plays Nikola Jokic, Serbia next tomorrow before opening against them on July 28th. Tonight's MLB All-Star Game has both starting pitchers in place. For the National League, rookie Paul Skeens will get the nod after a very impressive start. For the American League, Orioles starter Corbin Burns will go to the bump. Burns is the first Baltimore pitcher to start the Midsummer Classic since 1980. And LA Dodgers star Teoscar Hernandez is your 2024 MLB Home Run Derby after battling at Kansas City's Bobby Witt Jr., outdueling him 14 long balls to 13 in the finals.
With Cal, Stanford, and SMU joining the conference. Plus, the latest on Clemson. Rob Brown and Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson will be on the scene to keep you informed. Break the game down. Powered by your local Ingles Market. Low prices, love the savings. The ACC kickoff. The best coverage is on the Fan Upstate.
Up to the minute upstate traffic. The Cordell and Cordell construction cam shows there's a 6-mile backup crawling along at 20 miles an hour southbound 85 from Highway 101 to Pelham. Looks like they're finishing.
All right, guys, give me 30 seconds. I'll be right back. Sorry to keep ditching you, but I'm working solo, so I got to do what I got to do. Be right back. welcome back. It is the Fan Upstate. Great to have you. I'm Rob Brown, rolling solo today. The Griffin Lonzo will make his return to the airwaves on Thursday. We look very forward to that, as always. In the meantime, you got me for another hour. Then I'll head down to Clemson, South Carolina to Clemson Open House Media Day. Thank you very much, as always, to our dear friend Cole Bryson, host of Wire to Wire with Cole Bryson and Diesel. You'll hear that coming up at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Cole is down at Clemson Open House. He'll have some audio for you coming up this afternoon. If you miss it, don't worry, because we will have some more audio for you on tomorrow's radio broadcast here on the show as we push through the week. And do want to remind you, next week will be very interesting. We'll have even more audio for you next week. We'll have more audio for you next week because the Rob Brown Show and Wire to Wire with Cole and Diesel will be live at ACC Media Days next week up in Charlotte, North Carolina. We will be there this show on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. We'll be off on Wednesday next week. Cole Bryson and Diesel will be there Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So what you miss with me on Wednesday, you'll get on Wire to Wire. And then I will be there Thursday from ACC Media Day. That is Clemson Day. They will be last on the schedule on Thursday. So we'll not have any audio for you on Thursday. I will also let you know I will be off next Friday as well. So I will be in Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. I will be off Wednesday, recovering from Tuesday night's Creed concert. I will be off on Friday as the fiance and I will be headed down to finish up some weddings. So we're so close to done. All right. So I do apologize. I'll be out on Friday. But when I return the next Monday, we will recap everything from ACC Media Days, everything that was said by the commissioner, by all the coaches. We'll have interviews of replays with players, et cetera, et cetera. So next week, we will be live at ACC Media Days. The Rob Brown Show will air Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from Charlotte. Wire to Wire with Cole Bryson and Diesel will air Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from Charlotte, North Carolina. All right. We have had quite a bit of conversation this morning thus far about the rumors regarding a discussion ongoing or maybe not between Clemson, Florida State, potentially other ACC members today, and the Big 12 Conference. Ross Dellinger and Dan Wetzel discussed it on their podcast earlier this week, and here is what they had to say.
Does Florida State and Clemson want any part of that league?
The only thing that it would be better for would be if the Big 12 would offer them more money, right? Right now, the Big 12 really can't offer them more money. They can't offer them SEC type, Big 10 type money, which is 60, 70, $80 million a year. Right now, Big 12 teams get, less than 40. And they're not going to take a dilution in their shares. They already took a dilution from the new 4 teams that were added. So they'd have to find a way to find money to give Florida State and Clemson
to walk away from what you have it would have to be substantially more money and a more exciting place. I think it would have to be. I understand these guys will go and burn every bridge for an extra nickel. But the idea that you would leave the Southeast and all of your traditions, I don't know.
So here's my thought, and I'm gonna start at the end, and I'm going to work backwards. The thought of, well, why would you leave your geographic region and all of your traditions? This is what I've been saying for a while. You're not leaving your traditions, right? If Clemson is playing under the Big 12 banner, they're still going to run down the hill. They're still going to take the bus ride around the stadium. They're still going to touch Howard's Rock. They're still going to play Tiger Rag, right? They're still gonna meet at the pod. They're still gonna do all the things. That's not gonna be new. That's just part of Clemson. That's not going anywhere. And my question right now would be, what other traditions do you have to leave behind? What other traditions are you worried about? If you're worried about your rivalry game with South Carolina, you can still play it if you're in the Big 12, right? It doesn't have to go anywhere. You're already in a different conference from them. So being in a different conference doesn't change anything. What tradition? And this is not a question I'm just asking respectfully to Dan Wetzel, who I like a lot, or Ross Dellinger, who I like a lot. I'm genuinely asking the question to all of you who have said this before. What traditions are you leaving behind? Sincere question, what traditions have we lost? What traditions are gone? Now, you can make the argument that, it's the tradition of, playing local teams, playing geographic teams. It's the tradition of playing teams from within your footprint. But honestly and legitimately, what does Clemson lose by not playing SC Upstate, right? And listen, I know the big schools, like a team like a Furman or an SC Upstate or whoever else, when they play, and I'm not talking just about football. I'm talking about the ability to play them all within, basketball, baseball, whatever. Outside of that, and those schools get hampered, but what do you lose? And here's the thing. Those schools are still getting paycheck games. They're still going to get called up to go play a Power 4 team and make money for doing it. So outside of that, what tradition are you worried about losing? And then there's the second to last thing that Dano said there at the end of that take. These schools will burn any bridge if it gets them another nickel. Yeah. But again, that's not new. I think that's one of the things that these conversations keep bringing up for me that's a little bit frustrating. None of this is new, right? None of this is shocking. None of this is anything that hasn't been the case for a very long time. A bunch of schools have left and gone to the ACC for more money. It started with A&M and Missouri. Now it's Texas and Oklahoma. They didn't move over there because it's better football. They moved over there because they were going to get paid more money for it. And at the end of the day, that's the game, right? The game is, how do you get more into the coffers? So that shouldn't be a shock to anybody. That shouldn't be anything that makes people go, the college football world's a worse place. It's the same place it's always been. It's not different. The only difference is, like we said earlier, the only difference is where that money's ending up. Some of it's going to players now. So, I don't get what the last 20 seconds of that audio was all about. What tradition's going to die? And if you are shocked by the fact that these schools are all making the moves that these schools are all making for dollar bills, y'all, my question is, respectfully, where have you been? These are the conversations that when I talk about people that have a more old school romantic view of college football kind of frustrating me, this is what I am talking about, right? Not that I'm frustrated that you have that viewpoint. Frustrated that you still have that viewpoint. College football is only about the pride and the pageantry and the tradition of all of that. It does to fans, to you, to me, to us. Yeah, it has that for us. It doesn't have that to the people who are in position that make more money based on decisions being made, right? Like I don't know what to tell you. Greg Sankey, yeah, I'm sure he loves the SEC. But also he loves the SEC and that seven-figure paycheck that he makes every time they make any given decision. That, to me, is kind of what this is all about. So as far as the stuff at the beginning, which was Ross Dellinger's takes during that soundbite, again, like none of this is confusing to me. None of this is confusing. None of this is anything that makes me go, I don't understand what's happening. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Clemson and Florida State are recognizing that the ACC cannot and will not pay them as much money as the other three conferences. Clemson and Florida State would like the opportunity to join one of those conferences to make more money. That decision will be predicated by two things. Number one, who extends the invite, and number two, who attaches the biggest paycheck to that invite. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Who is going to pay them and how much? That's why these sound bites, like, I appreciate them. I respect them. We got a job to do, and that's come up with stuff to talk about, and I respect it. I do the same thing. But when I hear these discussions and people are like, oh, I'm confused, I don't know. It's not that confusing, and it's not that hard to understand if we're keeping it a buck. The schools want more money. They're going to go to whoever pays them and whoever pays them the most. That's it. And if Clemson and Florida State right now believe that who is going to pay them is the Big 12 and who will pay them the most is also the Big 12, then that conversation would make sense to be happening. I don't know that that is the case. I don't know that is what is or what will happen. But the Big Ten and the SEC are making no jump to make an offer to those schools. So it kind of makes sense then that that conversation would be going on. Whether it is or not, I don't know yet. I got one guy out in the Big 12 who says it is. I got two guys covering Clemson that say it's not. I don't know if it is or isn't. I lean to it's probably not. But if it doesn't make sense. All right, got a few more thoughts on some other stuff to get to when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan.
My fantasy baseball league. This was 2 years ago because last year's I won one game. Not good. Yeah, because I couldn't do the draft. I had cousin Joe do the draft. He got drunk instead and made a mess. I couldn't communicate because you and I were doing the show. It was just you and me in here. I told you, like, when you're up, take it off. I'll talk. I'll be fine. I could do it to you. I would have helped you out. I just would have wanted a percentage of the winnings. That's all. BetMGM tonight.
Live sports betting updates as they happen. Weeknights at 7
on the Fan Upstate.
From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Weather Center, here's the Carolinas' most trusted forecast on the Fan Upstate. We'll see scattered showers and thunderstorms possibly late today. Otherwise, a blend of clouds and sunshine develops, a high around 96. Tonight, a slight chance for storms, a low near 74. Wednesday, chance for storms, high 95. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on the Fan Upstate. Currently, it's 79.
And now, the Daily Sports Spin, powered by Ingles. Low prices, love the savings.
Championships for sale. The shady dealings of college football in days gone past are well documented. The $500 handshakes, the jobs for dad as Junior signs the dotted line, the gold Trans Am that suddenly shows up in the driveway. But last week, a story broke that cast further light onto something that should cause alarm. That Phil Knight, founder of Knight and an Oregon alum, is all in on funding Oregon's NIA in pursuit of a national championship for his alma mater before he dies. He's 86. Oregon now has the backing of Knight's $33 billion personal net worth. 20 years from now, when regulations have finally been put in place, will championships from this era feel cheap, bought, paid for? What do you think? I'm Diesel.
Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson.
This afternoon, 3 to 7 on the Fan Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, and on the Odyssey app.
Ingalls Markets is a proud sponsor of the Wire to Wire Sports Spin. From the playing field to the stands to your own living room, Ingalls Markets has everything you need to fuel your athlete or satisfy all the hungry fans in your life.
Like it. If Bill Knight wants to run it like a business, so can E. Boone Pickens. I don't know if he's still alive or not, but he's all.
You have to play with that with a.
There's my favorite.
Ignoring the problematic nature, Rob, of having a black and gold. Here we go, round 2 of the 5 o'clock fights. Ignoring the problematic nature, Rob, of Fortune 500. Round 2 of the 5 o'clock fights.
That fat bearded guys are the way to go, because we are. We're the best at everything. You want a guy that can cook? Fat bearded guy. You want a guy that can cuddle? Fat bearded guy. You want a guy that can build stuff? Fat bearded guy. You want a guy to comfort you? Fat bearded guy. And there's other things on this list I'm not gonna say.
Hey, I gotta do what I gotta do over here.
Don't hit snooze. The Rob Brown Show. Now morning 6 to 10 on The Fan.
The Fan Upstate.
Hear that? The sound of water being poured on 800-degree rocks. If you were here in the sauna, you'd be so hot you wouldn't have the energy to move. But you're not here. Because your self-care happens out on the road, riding your motorcycle protected by Progressive. Besides, after a long ride, a helmet sweat is way more satisfying. So if you ride, switch to Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer, without even breaking a sweat. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
Find what you love what you find. A total one and more. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Guys in the know and price is so low. It just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Only at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly. B21.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your foundation and damaging your home. Cracks in walls and uneven floors are just a few signs your foundation is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns. A free home inspection from Mount Valley Foundation Services. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at fixmyfoundation.com.
Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Turn on, leave on.
So the question is, who is going to get more mascots right? And so what you're going to do is you're going to ask me you're going to give me the city name, and I'm going to try to guess the mascot of the team. All right, hit me with city number 1. So when did Spartanburg get a WNBA? Everybody, are they the Spartanburgers? Okay. All right. I've got 6. I'm going to start at the top. The first city for Diesel in the WNBA name challenge. New York. New York. New York Mystery. Oh, Liberty. Oh.
Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson.
Turn on, leave on. Afternoons 3 to 7 on The Fan. Upstate.
Hey, this is Diesel, and this is Cole with Wire to Wire, and we'll be live tomorrow from 3 to 7 at Ingalls Markets at 410 Pelzer Highway in Eastland. Stop by and say hi. We will also be giving away a $25 Ingalls gift card.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Your guide to the gridiron, the maestro of the matchups and the keeper of all things cool in the sports world. This is the Rob Brown.
So yesterday, as Cole Bryson was out sick, Diesel called me. He said, "Hey, Rob Brown, you are the most talented, professional, handsome radio guy that I've ever met in my life." And I said, "I know. Thank you very much. It's super kind of you to say to and about me. You've made my day. You've made my morning. What can I do for you, young man?" Diesel said, "Do you mind coming on the show and doing the 5 o'clock fight with me?" If you missed that segment, every day at 5 o'clock on Wire to Wire with Cole and Diesel, listeners provide them with a list of questions. And Diesel takes one side, Cole takes the other. They fight about it. And the fans, the Tolos, as they call them, decide who won, Cole or Diesel. I like the game. It's interesting. Well, yesterday, my guy Diesel called, said, "Hey, will you jump on the stream and do the 5 o'clock fight with me?" I said, "Hell yeah. There's nothing I'd love to do more." And there was one question that Diesel asked me that led to a fight that I thought was very interesting. I am going to play you. It's a short little segment. I'm going to play you question number 2 from yesterday's 5 o'clock fight where I sat in with Diesel on Wire to Wire. And then I'm going to let you guys decide on this show who won, me or Diesel.
Ignoring the problematic nature, Rob, of Fortune 500 companies getting involved in NIL, which I genuinely believe is coming in a big way, is Phil Knight offering his $33 billion personal fortune to Oregon and their NIL efforts to buy a national championship selfish or selfless? Because the 250,000 living alumni of Oregon, University of Oregon, would be very happy to win a title.
Let's boil this down to its core. First off, it is selfless, and let's boil it down to why. The reaction you're having to it is an emotional reaction. You just don't like it, right? But there's no other world, there's no other business in which we complain about this, right? Like, we don't complain when the Mets and the Yankees have a payroll that's twice as big as the Royals. We don't complain when Patrick Mahomes is getting paid more money than anyone else on God's green earth. We don't complain in it. Forget any other business. We don't complain in any other sport when this happens. This is the one sport that we're like, no, I don't want these people to be better off. I want them to be worse off. I want them to have less money and less resources. Why? Because it hurts my fee-fees when they get paid, and I don't like it. If Phil Knight wants to run it like a business, so can T. Boone Pickens. I don't know if he's still alive or not, but he's always my go-to example. So can whatever the most famous alum at your school is at Appalachian State. I'm sure there's some old moonshine family that's still in charge. They can do it too if they want. Anybody can do it, right? It would only be selfish if Phil Knight was doing something that only Phil Knight's allowed to do and nobody else is. Every other school is on the exact same set of rules and protocols and regulations. It's selfless.
Well, it's selfish in the sense that this man is 86 years old and he wants nothing more than for himself and for himself only to see Oregon win a national championship. I'm not saying if I had the means that I might not make big old donations to my school's NIL as well. But for a guy who's devoted his life to sports, and I guarantee you, Rob has spent a lot of money advertising things like fairness and selflessness in sports, to then say, hey, guess what? I have more money than almost anybody, and I'm going to go buy a national championship for my school before I die. He's doing it for himself. He's not doing it for the other 249,999 living alumni for the University of Oregon. He is doing it solely for himself so that he can see his alma mater raise that trophy one time before he dies.
Have you ever bought a ticket to go watch your football team play and held that ticket aloft and went, I'm doing this for the betterment of mankind. Everything we do in sports is for us, man. Like, he's not different than you or me or anybody else. Of course he wants to see us win his title. So do you. So do I. So does every other fan. It's just that Phil Knight has Nike money and Diesel and I have, I hope I've got enough money in the couch cushions to buy another tank of gas money. That's the only difference.
I've got enough money for every time my alma mater calls me and asks me for money. I hang up quickly because I can't let the phone bill run up too much, and I can't afford to stay on the phone with them for a half an hour to tell them no. I just tell them no quickly.
All right, so there you go. There was a segment from the 5 o'clock fight yesterday, and there's a couple of takeaways I had. Number one, Diesel still pays his phone bill by the minute, which I think is impressive. That in the year 2024, Diesel is still using minutes for his phone. That's pretty spectacular, to be honest. But second off, like I said there, nobody has ever done anything in the world of sports because they want the world to be a better place, right? Legit. We do it because we want to be entertained. We want to have fun. It's about us. When I go down to watch my favorite football, when New Orleans comes and plays the Panthers in Charlotte, I go every year when New Orleans is at Carolina. And I don't buy my ticket and go up to Charlotte and go, I bought this ticket to support the local economy. I don't do that because that's not why I did it. Why did I do it? I did it so that Rob Brown could go have himself a lovely afternoon hanging out in Charlotte with his friends and his family and watching his favorite football team play. That's why I did it. No other reason, right? So the difference between myself and Phil Knight is, I don't know, $80 billion or so. Let's see, Phil. Oh, no, it's only 33. Okay, I'm closer to Phil Knight than I thought. The difference between Phil Knight and I is only about, he's at $33.1 billion estimated net worth. So the only difference between me and Phil Knight is about $33.999999999999999 billion. But that's it. That's the difference, right? So every school has the same set of rules. If Auburn wants Charles Barkley and Tim Cook, as Shane pointed out, to go that hard in the paint for them, they have the right to do it. If Stanford wants Tiger Woods to chip in and donate a few billy, and Tiger Woods cares that much, they have the right to do that. Yes, is Phil Knight willing to try to buy a championship for the Oregon Ducks so he can see one before he dies? Yeah. Yeah. And quick question. If you had $33.1 billion, wouldn't you do it too? Yeah. I think most of you would, right? Because we love our sports and we want our sports balls teams to do well. That's it. That's it. It's not that simple. Or excuse me, it's not that complicated. So I didn't really understand what the issue was here. I didn't really understand what the emotional response to Phil Knight doing this was. And for the record, let's be clear. Just like any other investment, not every investment is made for financial profit. Every time that you take $1 and you exchange it with someone else for a good and or service, you are making an investment. Yeah? If you go to the gas station and you buy a Reese's Fast Break bar, is it the Fast Break? Is that the one? What's the one with, it's got, if you haven't had it, it's got it's chocolate, it's got caramel on the inside, but it's also got Reese's Pieces cooked into it. It's not the Fast Break. I need to tell you what it is because it is right now the best candy bar in the game. It's I'll remember. Whatever. I have to know now. Take 5. No, it's not the Take 5. Outrageous. Reese's Outrageous. Best candy bar in the game right now. The Reese's Outrageous bar. Best candy bar in the game. Hands down, no questions asked. If I go into the gas station and I plunk down my $1.35 for a Reese's Outrageous bar, that's an investment, right? And the return on that investment for me is the, 3 to 4 minutes I'm going to enjoy eating the world's best candy bar. And then at the end of that, I will go, that experience of eating that candy bar was worth $1.39. Or I'll go, oh man, I shouldn't have ate that. Shouldn't have ate that. That's bad for me. That wasn't worth it. Bad investment. Phil Knight is investing in the program. The return on that investment for him, would be what? The emotional high he would get seeing his Oregon Ducks win a natty before he dies is I think basically what it comes down to. And just like that investment in the Reese's Outrageous bar, again, best candy bar in the game, he may not get a return on investment. The Ducks may never win a title. The Ducks may get all the resources in the world, but they just can't do it. They can't get by Ohio State. They can't get by Michigan. They can't win the Big Ten. They can't get higher than, 8, 9, 10 seed in the playoffs. They can't win on the road, whatever. They might not do it. And then Phil Knight will have invested tens of, hundreds of millions of dollars into a program that never gave him the natty that he was hunting. And then he gets to decide if that was a busted investment or not. Your school can do the same thing. I don't know what billionaires have come through Clemson, right? Let's see here. Nikki Haley, John Edwards. Did Dolph Lundgren go to Clemson? Is that true? Tell me the internet. Do y'all get to claim Dolph Lundgren? Now, nothing else matters besides finding this out now. He's Swedish, of course. I need you. I don't care. You're all going to have to deal with me here because I typed in most famous Clemson alumni. I'll be a son of a gun. After graduating from high school with straight A's, he spent time in the United States in the 1970s on various academic scholarships, studying chemical engineering at Washington State University from 1976 to 77 and Clemson University prior to serving his mandatory 1 year in the Swedish Coastal Artillery at the Coastal Ranger School. Would you look at that? I'm sitting here wondering about who's Clemson's most famous alum. Y'all have Ivan Drago. What? How did I not know that, man? How have I made it in this market for 4.5 years and none of you let me know that Ivan Drago is a Tiger? None of you talk. Your most famous alum, Dolph Lundgren, and not one of you wanted to let me know. That's unbelievable. Anyway, if you guys want to hit up Ivan Drago, it'd be like, yo, Dolph, what do you say you pump 100 mil of those big Rocky royalties into the football program? He has the right to do it, and Clemson has the right to accept it, just like Phil Knight in Oregon. Oregon should not be punished because they have a donor who has unfathomable amounts of money and elects to give it to that program, just like Clemson or South Carolina or anybody else. Now we just got... None of you were going to tell me Dolph Lundgren went to Clemson, even if it was only for a year. None of you. Not a one of you were going to tell me Ivan Drago was at that. I'm so disappointed in you all. I'm so dumb, y'all.
Commissioner Greg Sankey spoke about the speculation that Florida State and Clemson could join the league if they leave the ACC. Sankey said he's aware of Clemson and FSU's situation, but maintains that he's focused on the league's current members.
We're focused on our 16th period.
Former Alabama head coach Nick Saban shared his thoughts on the college football playoff expanding from 4 teams to 12 this year.
The people really want to see the 12 best teams, just like people wanted to see the 4 best teams get in the playoffs. But the conferences are not equal.
30 seconds, guys. Be right back. Gotta handle something real quick.
12 teams going to get bumped out because of a conference champion who made
Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Turn on, leave on.
There's a new feature with iPhones and iOS 17 called Personal Voice. You have to record in a whole bunch of phrases, and then it creates a voice print, an AI version of your voice. And we thought, what would be more fun than creating versions of our voices and then making the other person say things that they would never actually say on the radio.
All right, here's Diesel. You ready, Diesel?
Brad Brownell is the best coach ever. He deserves a lifetime contract, and I will never talk bad about Big Bad Brad again.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Okay, so here's the next thing that Cole Bryson would never say on the radio.
If Jerry Jones can't win the Super Bowl this year, I'll give up and become an Eagles fan.
Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson.
Turn on, leave on. Afternoons 3 to 7 on the Fan, Upstate.
You know that house on the block with the perfect lawn? Don't you envy them? That's just jealousy getting to you. Be the house on the block that they envy. Just go to CarolinaTopDressing.com and sign up for your free quote. Since 2007, Carolina Top Dressing has been transforming, smoothing, and nourishing lawns around upstate South Carolina. We are passionate about giving you the healthiest yard on the block, residential or commercial, with top dressing, aerating, and overseeding services. Trust Carolina Top Dressing with your curb appeal. CarolinaTopDressing.com.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? We've got an oil change coming up. You can go farther and save on full synthetic with our oil change special. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of STP full synthetic oil with an STP extended life oil filter for just $29.99. Get the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com. Restrictions apply.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit NoTimeToWait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Everyone, Boomer Esiason here. Superchargers, headlights, and more with over 122 million parts. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Stay on your A game with all the parts that you need at the prices you want. It's easy to bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply.
Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app. Make the Fan Upstate a favorite.
You know, I can't not address it. I really can't. You know what? I'm just going to cut this music off now because I don't understand how this happened. All right, and I'm not. I'm in a band. I am not a singer. Okay, I sing in the band, but it's like backup vocals and you know stuff. And for the record, in my band when I sing, I don't create the harmony. Okay, when we get to a point that I got to sing, I sing. My lead singer harmonizes with me because he's a musician. He's a singer. That's a guy I trust to go, I don't know, sing a national anthem. That's a guy I trust to go sing a national anthem. Not me. I am a professional attention seeker. It's quite literally my job. There's not much I won't do. There's very few situations where you can't put a microphone in Rob Brown's hand and jam him in front of a camera and I won't come up with something. All right? It's my job. It's literally what I do. The one thing in my life that I have said no to. There's one thing that I've said no to. And I've been asked 3 times, I think so far. I think 3 times so far. I'm not singing a national anthem. Why? Because I would turn out like the lady who sang the national anthem last night.
For the land of the free and the home of the brave.
So, you know, I got respect for anybody who is willing to roll the dice and get out there on the diamond and sing the national anthem. All right? I got respect for that. I respect anybody who's got the stones. Here's the problem I have. Those same people inhabit any given bar on any given karaoke night. Yo, I hate karaoke. I hate karaoke. It is the bane of my existence. Because as I've said in the past, there's a lot of people out there that have unjustifiable levels of confidence. Okay? And having confidence is not bad. Having unjustifiable levels of confidence is. And this young lady is a very interesting case study in that. Because on one hand, she apparently has 4 Grammy nominations, including Country Music Newcomer of the Year last year. I actually went and listened to some of her music. Some of it's not bad. All right, it's pretty cliche, standard, finding my way, sad but also happy white girl country music. Which, again, who the hell am I to judge? I love me some good finding my own way white girl country music. Judge me, bro. Fight me. Kelsey Ballerini, big fan. All right. Younger Taylor Swift when she was more country than pop. Big fan. Judge me. I don't care. All right. I went and listened to some of her stuff. It's not bad. It's not really for me, but it's not bad. I also am now officially convinced, thoroughly convinced, that just everything that goes on an album is auto-generated now. Like every mass produced and mass distributed bit of music. I'm just convinced it's all and entirely computer generated at this point. I've got no other way around it. Again, I want to say good on her for grabbing the mic and going out there and being willing to step in front of, I think they said there was like 48,000 people there last night, and perform the anthem. But like, maybe don't, right? Like, maybe don't. Any given home Swamp Rabbit fans, they put a mic in front of me, they put a camera in front of me, they open me up in front of like 5,500 people, and they trust me to hype up the crowd, to whip the crowd into a frenzy. And I've got the confidence or stupidity to do it, but I've made a career out of it. I'm never singing a national anthem because I can't do it. I can't do it. And to be honest, I kind of feel like we're at a point where we need to start telling people this don't do this. Like, you're okay?
For the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Oh, like, I dislike karaoke because I've said there's three groups of people that go to karaoke night. There's group number one that know they suck and they're there to have a good time. All right? And those people are fine because they're always picking a ridiculous song and they pick something that's like up-tempo and fun for the crowd, and the crowd kind of does the call and response. That, I can tolerate that. Those people don't make karaoke miserable. Those people are the people I want to go to karaoke with. Then there's group number two. Group number two is the people who are okay, but they also don't take it seriously. And then there's that's actually four groups. Then there's group number three. Then there's the people that actually can sing. Then there's the people that can sing. Then there's the people that show up and they know they can sing, and I'm good with that. All right? I'm okay with that. You have honed your craft. You have worked on your craft. You have gotten to the point. You have practiced in a way that listening to you is nice. It's a nice sound. But then there's the worst group of people. Then there's the group of people that ruin karaoke night for everybody else. These are the people that cannot sing, but damn sure think they can. And these are the people that ruin karaoke. Not because they can't sing, but think they can, but because they show up and they think it is a damn concert. They think you are there to hear them sing. These are the people that go up there and they pick like the super dramatic Broadway stuff and they slow it down, right? Like if you want to go up there and do tequila, tequila, that's fine. That's fun. I can get down with that. These are the people that instead of getting up there and singing something fun and entertaining and engaging and enjoyable, they get up there and they're like, what if I do Celine Dion, but like one of the slow bad ones, right? What if I get up there and I do one of the bad slow? Everybody else is having a great time. Everybody else is having a great time. Everybody else is enjoying. Everybody else is upbeat, is having a good time. And then this clown gets up there and goes, I'm gonna sing something very dramatic. And they buzzkill the whole bar. And that's what this national anthem was, man. This event, one of the most exciting events in all of baseball, the Home Run Derby. One of the most exciting events in all of baseball. And this lady just absolutely tanked it like a bad karaoke night. How disappointing. Oh,
young lady. I wish you the best, but maybe stop. Maybe stop. See you guys tomorrow. The Rob Brown Show. All right, guys, I got to split because I got to close up the computer and everything here. I appreciate you guys coming by. You're all the cameras over here. You're all amazing people. Heading to Clemson Open House. I will have some audio from that for you tomorrow. So come back. Have a good day. Goodbye.